Good morning and welcome to our June 23rd, 2026 Board of County Commission meeting. We are delighted that you've joined us this morning. Please join us for the invocation, which will be led by Joanne Gillespie, who's from the Humanists of the Treasure Coast, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by James Cubby.
Good morning. As we gather today in this chamber of public trust, we pause a moment in reflection. 2.5 centuries ago, a bold experiment in self-governance began, shaped by imperfect people striving toward enduring ideals, liberty, justice, and the belief that power derives from the consent of the governed. These were startling notions to much of the world. This experiment in liberty, justice, and self-governance now rests, in part, in your hands. You have been entrusted by your communities not simply to lead, but to listen, not merely to decide, but to deliberate with care and integrity. The responsibilities you carry are not abstract. They affect lives, shape futures, and define the character of our shared civic life. Therefore, may you be guided by a clarity of purpose, the best interest of our communities, even in moments of complexity and distraction. May you opt not for what is expedient, but what is right. May disagreement sharpen your thinking without dulling your respect for those who see things differently. May you remember that public service at its best is an act of stewardship, a stewardship of our democratic principles, of our communities, and of the well-being of our diverse citizenry. Lastly, as this nation approaches its 250th anniversary, the measure of our strength will not be found in the past alone, but in the wisdom, creativity, restraint, and resolve demonstrated in rooms like this one across America. So be it.
Mr. Cubby.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you like to tell us a bit about your service, sir?
Sure, thank you. So I was picked up at 2 a.m. in the morning on my graduation day. And I was, when I get my headset, going to accomplish something, I wanted to fly in helicopters. Mm-hmm. And so we obviously have, various armed services, but the Marine Corps was the toughest, the roughest, and so that's where I wanted to go, and that's where I went. Shortly thereafter, after I got through my different schooling, next thing we had the Gulf War. And so it's kind of interesting. People will go into the service. I call them ribbon hunters. They're after fame and glory. And then you have those that are just there to serve. Okay. And so you find yourself in some unique situations there. And so it was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Desert Calm. And then I thought, well, okay. So out of my 8-year enlistment, so 6 years active, found myself then being deployed to Somalia, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Not a place I recommend anybody go visit. And then we did a few other operations there, and then over the years, worked my way into a training squadron. So I was with a light attack helicopter squadron. So Marine Corps light air, so the Huey gunships and the Cobra attack helicopters, and there's some harsh conditions out there. It takes a lot of time, effort, resources to keep the equipment functioning, so we can perform our missions. So that's what I did over that span of time, and so there was time that there were places where time literally would stand still and there were times to where it was like almost like it was going too fast, right? But I loved every minute of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We have 3 presets today. At 9:05, we'll have public comment. At 2 o'clock, we will have an operations facility presentation. At 5:05, or at the end of our meeting, we'll have public comment. There are 2 additional items today. Consent 13 is an update on election precincts at the request of the Martin County Supervisor of Elections. Department 7 is a presentation regarding Martin County Operations Facility. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We'll now take up public comment, beginning with Charlie Bartholomew, followed by Holly Merrill Rasheen.
While they're on their way up, since we are in election season, politicking is prohibited, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office, either partisan or nonpartisan. This includes the use of words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel that convey a message of support for a person or group of persons. You'll have 3 minutes. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds in, there will be a buzzer, but that means you have 15 seconds to wrap up. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to represent the applicant, Lisa Copeland, who is not able to be here this morning. Her daughter got released from the hospital last night. Hopefully everything's okay, but as a mom, she's taking care of her today and wishes you to know that she's still working hard to correct some little mistakes in communication regarding a crane and other such things, but they've been removed. We're actively looking to find homes and clear the dock and do what we can to make the following interface between the county and the state work. And I know Commissioner Campy rightly pointed out a couple weeks ago, I think, that this is not the place for this type of situation, and I couldn't agree with you more. But having said all of that, I would just simply say that communication and the breakdown of, and then the non-existence of communication is pretty much the hallmark of this particular problem. And it's, to me, that I see it as completely an interdepartmental situation. There wasn't a motivation to study the problem, to review the history of the problem, to review the black and white comments from the DEP twice and two visits. And it started so well. You know, they were given their opportunity. It was a storm-damaged dock, and they were given a permit and a second permit. Got whacked again by Milton, which really did a number on Florida in general, because the Cat 5 looking right at Tampa let the dry air in, and all that energy went everywhere without any type of pattern at all. Took another hit on the dock. But the long story short is that even at the closing, Maddie Kane, she says, you buy the dock, you buy the house. They go together. The history was there. The interface was there. The comments all pointed out to it. And actually, that's really the small problem, which has become a 5-year problem due to finances, due to no comment, non-comments from departments. But I would like to thank John Galando and his assistant Rachel for their professionalism or cooperation. They requested literature, documents. We provided them. I believe at this point they're in front of all the eyes that would be necessary in reviewing it and making a determination. So we are standing by. We are going to hope that it can be worked out in a meeting.
Sir, so you have 15 seconds.
Okay, well, that's all I have to say. I just hope that when the next meeting comes, we've made more positive progress, because I think we all want the same thing. We want to keep it beautiful in that part of Palm City. Thank you all.
Thank you. Holly Merrill Rashine is next, followed by James Crocker.
Good job, Madam Chair. You got my
Thanks.
name right. So good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm Holly Merrill Rashine. I am Director of Florida Government Relations for Ashbridge, and I also have the pleasure of serving as a County Commissioner in Monroe County.
Welcome, Commissioner.
I'm here on Agenda Item 26-0591, the Debris Removal Awards under RFP 2026-3769. First, thank you. Ashbridge has been Martin County's debris removal partner since 2006, 20 years, through Hurricanes Matthew, Irma, and Milton. And we hold this board and your staff in high regard. We also support community programs like Keep Martin Beautiful and the United Way of Martin County. We are not here to criticize your team, no way, or the other firms. As someone who sits on a board like yours, I don't raise these issues lightly, but I'd be doing a disservice if I stayed quiet. Our concern is straightforward. The evaluation appears to have departed from the rules this RFP set for itself, and it was decided a contract by just 1.1 points. Three things stand out. First, the RFP says the highest-ranked firm is determined by a tally of first-place rankings. The tally was never done. The committee averaged raw scores instead, a different method than the one published. Second, the committee was instructed, on the record, to score only what is in the proposals. Yet one evaluator lowered Ashbridge's past performance score based on their own outside experience with us. And that score was a 5-point outlier from the other 4 evaluators, who scored us 14 and 15. Third, the committee credited the 2 recommended firms for using a documentation system that appears just once in the entire RFP, and only as a contract term, not a scoring criterion, while Ashbridge, which described that same capability, received no such credit. And on availability, your local, home-based incumbent Ashbridge scored lower than an out-of-state firm. Each issue by itself is small. Together, on a 1.1 margin, they are decisive. So we respectfully ask that the board not approve this item today. The RFP reserves your right to require presentations or interviews, and we would welcome that opportunity. Exercising that right will allow the committee to speak to each contractor and finalize their first-place rankings in accordance with the RFP. Short of that, we ask that you return the proposals for rescoring under the method the RFP requires, or cancel and reissue so that every firm competes on clear, consistent rules. This is not about Ashbridge winning. It's about public confidence that Martin County followed its own process. Thank you for your time and for your service to this beautiful community.
Thank you. James Crocker is next, followed by Jim Moyer.
Good morning. I'm here this morning to represent the taxpayers of Martin County. I speak on their behalf, I being one of them. What this commission has done with respect to the approval of a $74 million construction project is so outrageous, I struggle for words to describe it. You, the taxpayer, you should go to ChatGPT, Claude, Google, whatever you use to do your research, and make this about the numbers, not about emotion. Make this about the numbers, not about the legality. When I've approached commissioners about this, they say, well, what we've done is within the confines of the law. To which my immediate response was, just because it's legal to jump off the Roosevelt Bridge doesn't mean you should. And what you have done in this project, you can be my friends, but you'll no longer be my commissioners. The going rate for construction, I know a construction company in Palm City, MJD Construction, just built 230,000 square feet for Mr. Sands and did it at $70 a square foot, not counting earthwork. And yet your commissioners voted to spend $74 million for 114,000 square feet. $649 a square foot.
Sir, address your comments to the board.
It is outrageous. It should be reversed. I've already raised $30,000 in a legal fund to legally fight this, but I, as a taxpayer, should not have to fight it. It should have been your decision-making. In the invocation this morning, she said public trust. The public trust has officially been broken. Some people are suggesting corruption. It can only be corruption or incompetence. It's not corruption because I know each of you personally, and I know that you're of the most honest type and would never receive $1 of corruption. But this is incompetence. And by the way, past instances of incompetence, because when I went and met with some people here, they said, well, we spent this much money on this project and this much money on the other project, and this is kind of in line. Past instances of incompetence are no defense to the current instance. I would kindly ask that if there is any remedy, that you guys do the work on the part of Martin County taxpayers. Not only no bids. You just signed up an unsolicited proposal. I don't know, I guess that would be like me receiving an unsolicited proposal for a new 85-foot Jim Smith sport fisher boat. Somebody must have been soliciting. Somebody somewhere had to know that these people were. Anyway, it reeks, and it's not even a local contractor. Thank you, Eileen Vargas, for being the lone dissenting vote against this travesty of public trust. And I'm hoping the taxpayers and voters will not miss it.
Sir, your time is up.
Yeah.
For the folks, for my friend, Mr. Crocker, 2 o'clock today, we are having a full explanation with all of our staff, an agenda item just like you had asked for, another vetting of the process. All of the experts, all of the people that made the decisions, the full entire process will be discussed today at 2 o'clock.
Jim Moyer is next, followed by Frank McChrystal. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jim Moyer. I'm a resident of Rocky Point. I'm here today because I don't know what the procedure is to get a proclamation. What I would like you to do is to consider proclaiming July as Mangrove Month. Mangroves are an incredibly important species to our area, to the state of Florida, to our resilience, to the way we live our lives. They're a foundational species that deserves the recognition. July 26th is UNESCO's International Mangrove Day. That would be appropriate if we could designate that as Mangrove Day in Martin County. I can't think of a species that's more important to our way of life in this community and in this part of coastal Florida. It's an incredibly valuable thing that we're losing a lot of. Red mangroves seem to be growing further and further north, but there are lots of diseases, there are lots of people that are not respecting them and taking them out, and our shorelines are being bulkheaded all the time. And this species deserves our respect and our care, and I think it's appropriate to designate July as Mangrove Month. I hope you'll do that. Thank you.
I agree with you. I would like for July to be designated as Mangrove Month.
Could be mango too.
It could be
but
mango too.
Mangrove.
They have,
Grove.
I think that's a terrific idea.
Me too.
Thank you.
We can celebrate our specimen tree. We have the state designated black mangrove
Black
there.
mangrove
Yes,
that
yes.
is just gorgeous out on Hutchinson Island, but also there are a bunch of big, huge black mangroves down on Jupiter Island that are just gorgeous.
I voted for our county flag to be the mangrove,
Yeah.
but wasn't
Yeah.
successful.
Well, sailfish and mangrove are tough ones. Thanks.
Thanks. Frank McChrystal is next, followed by Sabrina Stuart.
Wow. I didn't know how chill I really was until a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, for this day, and thank you for all those who served and sacrificed so that I may have this freedom of speech. In 1998, runway 1230 at Witham was illegally extended 460 feet in order to allow bigger and bigger private jets to take off with a full tank. It was extended using faulty documentation. By acts of omission, staff recommendations to county commissioners were improper and possibly illegal. The 1230 extension did not include required federal environmental impact studies, which were bypassed by relying on faulty documentation and improper statements made to local, state, and federal officials. The runway 1230 extension violated federal air regulations by having departure and approach runway protection zones extend into existing residential neighborhoods, which is a flagrant safety violation and prohibited by federal regulations. A portion of the YMCA athletic fields built in 2000 is also in the runway protection zone. The 1230 extension immediately turned our once quiet town into a dirty, filthy pit stop for the global elites. This sad part of our history was proven to be true in 2011 when EMAS was required to be installed because 1230 did not meet the FAA's minimum criteria for runway protection zones. The FAA approved the Rhythm Noise Compatibility Study in 2004. The noise contour study was done over a 4-day Thanksgiving weekend. The noise contour map produced in the fake effort for noise mitigation is null and void, in my opinion. I was there at the golf course watching every jet. Instead of taking off at a normal 45 degrees, balls to the wall, safest way to take off, okay? They're all used the whole weekend, 4 days of short field takeoff where they go up like a jet and keep all the noise over the center of the airport, and then they limped out of town. So the original noise contour map is not even right, okay? Now, would you believe the global East don't give a rat's gluteus about the center of our community? The major part of the noise mitigation plan was a rerouting of all jet traffic over the rivers as soon as possible. You river greenies are nothing but hypocrites for allowing this. About 1/3 of Witham proper at this point does not put jets in the sky. It has other uses. Tell the FAA we're just fine and we'll do what we want with our airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabrina Stewart is next, followed by Missy Harris.
Good morning, distinguished members of our commission.
Pull that down a little bit for you. Perfect.
My name's Sabrina Stewart. I was born and raised in this county, and many of these names that I see up here today are names that I personally have checked off to represent our community. I'm a registered nurse, and I love volunteering in our community. I volunteer with the 10 City Helpers, and just a couple weeks ago, I was on CBS 12 News for the House of Hope for their Feed the Need campaign. I'm here in regards to 10 City Helpers. I wanted to come and speak to you and talk to you about the unhoused in our community. I've heard so many derogatory names, the homeless, the home bums, strangers, people we don't know, but I see neighbors. I don't see outsiders. I see people that are members of our community, people that work here, go to school here, people that grew up in this county just as I have. How many of us in this room today are one paycheck away from being their neighbor? I see the man that had a traumatic brain injury. He's now living under our bridge. He's not on drugs or alcohol. He got hurt. His head was hit. I see veterans without anywhere to go. Our veteran facility is beautiful, but it is full. I see a grandma with everything she owns in a car. She lost her home because of the rising rent costs. I see domestic violence survivors. They have nowhere to go because our facilities also are full. I just saw somebody that came out of our local hospital, had surgery on their neck, and they have nowhere to go and are staying in a tent, in a neck collar. It's shameful. It's people like you and me with nowhere to go. They were one paycheck away, and now look where they are. The unhoused is just not simply a drug or alcohol addict. As a nurse, I see this as a final symptom of somebody with unmet needs. Rising rent costs, medical crisis, job loss, a crisis in their family, one devastating event away from living in the woods. I ask us all to look beyond the stereotypes of the individuals. I ask us to see the human beings. We all deserve dignity, compassion, and opportunity to rebuild our lives. Today, I ask our community to consider these people, how much they could do in our community if they're given the resources to face their greatest challenges. Thank you for your time and your commitment. As a nurse, I personally have discharged people with nowhere to go, and it breaks my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Missy Harris is next, followed by Angela Harrison. Good morning.
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 I'm back again.
Good.
I wanted to tell you more about why we need to insert back again, so help me God, in the oath. And now it says, do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And it should have, so help me God, at the end. And it's been deleted. My desire and my assignment is to see Martin County thrive and be blessed. To do this, it all depends on whose law we follow. Do you see, for me, God is the one I follow. I believe that He's in charge. He creates life, and His ways are always the best. The Bible is America's manual. It was the foundation of the Constitution. Every president said this oath. Someone in Martin County decided to delete it from the oath. I'm asking for it to be reinstated. I'm not asking why was it deleted, but I'm asking for it to be put back in. The city adds it. The county does not. This is my third time asking for it to be put on the agenda, if that's what it takes. Because a free and just society must begin with faith in the one true God. This is in the Constitution. Why was it taken out of our swearing of the oath for the builders and the developers? In Martin County, the courthouse doesn't even say it. And years ago, I remember them holding up a Bible and saying, would you repeat after me? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help me God. So, when the President of the United States declared one nation under God back to be America, he knows we need God back in this country. Our Constitution was written for a free, just society to have faith in the one true God. The original intent of our Constitution was for the people to run the country, not the government. Deleting God takes it out. Our freedoms are gone. So please, restore it back. We need it to be reinstated. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Harrison is next, followed by Justin Ducasse.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I hope everyone's doing well. I really don't
Something's
have
with this.
much
One
to
second.
go on.
Something's with that microphone.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I just kind of want to take today to recognize Gail, our director. It's going to try not to get emotional, but she's leaving us, and we have about 35 volunteers, and we've all stepped up to continue to keep Tent City Helpers going. I just think it's a beautiful organization. She's carried it on for 8 years. I'm privileged to be a part of taking over the warehouse as manager and continuing the services that we provide. I really do encourage you guys to come out with us on a Monday just to kind of understand and get a feel of what the people are. We have a lot of homeless people that have cars. They do have jobs. And it would just be great for us to find a way to help them kind of get that next step of having housing. Maybe even possibly finding somewhere where they can park their cars at night and be safe and not, have to be harassed by the police. And I hate to say harassed because I don't want to degrade anybody's job at all. I understand they're doing their job. I don't know what we can do to kind of get it on the agenda, but that's hopefully my next step for us to possibly get it onto the agenda. I'm going to continue to try to come up with solutions for you guys just to kind of help. I know your schedules are very, very busy and you have more than enough things to take care of, so I'll continue to do my due diligence, but if we could possibly please just get it on the agenda so we kind of start talking about resolutions, Like I said, a lot of them have jobs. I mean, a lot of them have gotten jobs since I've been with the organization at the beginning of the year. And it's a proud moment to see them still continue to strive to try to be, productive citizens of the county. And I mean, them just taking that initiative, I think we could kind of give them the next initiative or whatever step to kind of give them housing. We have housed 2 families so far this year. I believe since last year, we've housed 6 vets. And I know about 3 or 4 people that we've housed so far this year. And I mean, they're very appreciative. Thanks. Thank you. Guys, have a wonderful day. Stay blessed.
Thank you. Justin Dukas is next, followed by Gary Erler. Mr. Erler is the last request to speak form. If you would like to speak to us, please fill out a request to speak form, hand it to the bailiff. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. All right. So I think like one of the best ways to go about like this whole like housing thing or like a place to sleep is I feel like House Bill 1365 needs to be like amended or changed to like specify if like the county like doesn't have like a shelter or like a designated area, what happens then? And then I think like that would solve like a lot of the problems, so we don't have to build something that's crazy expensive or something like that. And I don't know if it's in like you guys' power to do so. I'm not sure, but I think like that power like lies like with like the senator or I can't think of like their name right now. But yeah, so I just wanted to like lay that down on like the table that we could also change the law. That's an option too. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys.
Thank you. Gary Erler is next, and that's the last request to speak form I have.
You got a lot of ice cream shirts.
I got one for every day of the month. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I brought this up at our NAC meeting under the CRA Property Improvement Program and the grants that are awarded. How is it that we taxpayers can fund improvements to a property only to have that property put on the market and sold with our tax dollars that actually funded part of the improvement and reimbursement not required? I understand it's part of the SHIP program's policy that if it's sold in a certain amount of time, I'm not sure what it is, I haven't researched that far, but if it was 20% a year all the way down, I had the consensus of the NAC board. I spoke yesterday at the CRA. I had the consensus and a lot of head nods from from the CRA board, and I would ask a consensus of this board. Basically, it'd be a paragraph added to the application that, in fact, if it was sold within your determined time frame, 5 years is enough. It could go to 80% of the money, 60, 40, 20, and then after 5 years, we're legit. But we did have an applicant in Port Salerno that did receive the money, and now the property's for sale. They're moving and building a new building. So that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy.
Yes, I've seen Mr. Erler make that presentation at the NAC. I watched him yesterday do it at the CRA. I agree with him that the CRA members looked to agree that that was a good strategy. His point that he was trying to make is they have a program that certain local businesses can receive some additional funds to enhance their property. And I think it's a good strategy that if they do accept those funds, that there be some kind of a time frame that they can't then sell the building or the business either without paying back the money that they borrowed. And I like his idea of a percentage decrease or pay it back. And the time frame is appropriate, but to be able to receive that cash and then very quickly, maybe it had nothing to do with them selling the business, but it looks like it did, or at least it enhanced their ability to sell the business or to receive the dollar amount that they got. I would agree with that, and I think it's a CRA decision, but I think I would tell staff to begin the process of adding in that language. Thank you.
Do we have some agreement with the commissioner's statement that we would bring back an item?
I agree. So would you please repeat that again, what they're inserting?
And I'll paraphrase what I believe the request is that for there be a policy created for those business grants that are awarded in the CRA, that if the property is sold within a certain period of time, they must reimburse the grant. And it may be a sliding scale, but staff would have to come back with some definition of how that works. And I would suggest that staff would look at other communities if there's some examples that might follow.
So do we have a definitive time frame, or who's working on that?
There is no definitive time frame other than the suggestion that if a property is sold within a period of time, that the CRA should be reimbursed for that grant. I think it would require us to explore the nature of the grant. For instance, if it was a minor improvement, something as paint versus something maybe structural. I'm not as familiar with all the grants that have been awarded, but I think the purpose of the direction was to develop some criteria that could be considered for amending our grant program requiring a reimbursement.
I understand that, but who is going to make that determination what the time frame is?
The CRA.
The Board of County Commissioners would make it, or the CRA. And I think that would be with, so that's the direction I understand it. We would not proceed on even exploring it if I don't have at least 3 commissioners saying, please explore that, County Administrator.
To bring back criteria.
To bring back criteria.
My suggestion was not to give you the criteria.
Yes.
And that it should go through the proper channel. Start with the CRA, through how they've made decisions in the past, and then it eventually would come here. But as the gentleman followed the proper procedure, he started in the NAC, he went to the CRA, then he came here. I think we should follow the proper procedure. I'm not giving you the language, I'm just giving a head nod that it's a good idea.
Commissioner Capps.
I would prefer just to have an agenda item on the matter and to hear from staff's perspective. We're not making any decisions here, right?
No, it's just whether or not I should employ staff time to investigate and bring an item back.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take up proclamations. The first proclamation is a proclamation recognizing National Mosquito Control Awareness Week in Morton County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Proactive mosquito control and community awareness efforts help protect public health, enhance quality of life, support outdoor recreation and tourism, and contribute to a healthier, more comfortable environment for all. Martin County recognizes the valuable work of public health professionals, mosquito control specialists, community partners, and volunteers engaged in reducing mosquito habitat, educating the public and applying safe, science-based mosquito control methods. June 21st through the 27th is recognized as National Mosquito Control Week, and the board expresses appreciation to all members of this important industry for their contributions. And here to accept, we have Roxanne Baudelaire, Mosquito Control Manager.
We're going to do it that easy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Laura. You pretty much just summed up everything I had to say, but on behalf of the Mosquito
Say it again.
Control team, thank you for adopting this proclamation.
Thank you.
Of course. I have
Bring
two
your
other
team up.
people. Yeah, of our team. We don't get out of the office. So how do we do this? Yes.
Everybody gets one. So we get to that. There we go. Perfect. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is a proclamation declaring July 2026 as Parks and Recreation Month in Martin County, Florida.
Parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country and encourage physical activities by providing space for sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and other pursuits designed to promote active lifestyles. During July, recognized as Parks and Recreation Month, the board acknowledges the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, commends the department's work, and encourages citizens to take advantage of the amenities and programs offered in Martin County. And obviously here to accept, we have Kevin Abate, Director.
Good morning, Kevin Abate, Parks Director, Jessica Ballas, Deputy Parks Director, and soon-to-be retired this Friday, Assistant Director Todd Faust. We'll talk about that at the end. July is Parks and Recreation Month, and now Mangrove Month, and gives us a great opportunity to celebrate something that we all take for granted sometimes, the spaces and programs that truly define the quality of life here in Martin County. With 75 parks and beaches across the county, from our clean, safe, and welcoming shorelines to our well-maintained boat ramps that support both recreation and local tourism, our park system plays a vital role in keeping our community active, connective, and thriving. Martin County Parks and Recreation continues to make a meaningful impact across all generations. Through more than 2 decades of partnership with the Children's Services Council, we are proud to provide no-cost programs to ensure that every child and family has access to safe, enriching opportunities. Each year, hundreds of children benefit from our after-school, our out-of-school, and summer camp programs, giving them a safe place to learn, grow, and stay active. We are also helping building life skills that last a lifetime. Our aquatics programs teach children to swim, an essential skill here in Florida, of course, while creating opportunities for young people to enter the workforce. Over the past decade, we have employed thousands of teens and youth, often providing their very first summer job as a foundation of future success. Youth sports remain a cornerstone of our efforts, with participation exceeding 12,000 kids, a testament to the demand for structured, healthy activities that bring families together. We've also seen tremendous community engagement with over 64 permitted special events, and we welcomed over 46,500 attendees to our parks and public spaces. For our active adult and senior population, we've delivered over 30 programs serving more than 2,500 participants, along with athletic leagues that have drawn over 18,500 participants, reinforcing that recreation is truly lifelong. Parks and recreation are more than amenities. They are essential services that strengthen our community, support our economy, enhance everyday life for our residents. We're proud of the work being done, and we remain committed to expanding access and maintaining excellence and continue to serve Martin County with programs and spaces that everyone can enjoy. Finally, I would like to recognize and congratulate Todd Faust, right behind me, for over 15 years of dedicated service to Martin County. His commitment and contributions have made a lasting impact in our community, and we thank him for his years of service. Thank you.
Let him say a few words.
Now you have to say something.
Yes, Todd.
Good morning, Todd Faust.
The mic can
For
pick
the
you up.
record. I want to thank the commission for their support, as well as Don and George and the department directors and staff over the past 15 years of my career, especially Kevin Abate, our Parks Director, for his leadership, guidance, and support over the last 20 years, spanning both Broward and Martin counties. So thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve this community and to be a part of this community over the last 15 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do a picture.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you.
He's going to Michigan Friday.
We're going to miss you.
He's going to be a snowbird. He's still going to live in Palm City half the year.
The next proclamation is a proclamation declaring National Garden Week in Martin County, Florida.
Gardeners seek to add beauty, splendor, fragrance, and nutrition to our lives through the growing of herbs, vegetables, foliage, and flowers. And gardening provides a productive activity for our citizens, promotes a healthy lifestyle that lasts a lifetime, helps reduce stress, and teaches that rewards can come from diligent efforts. During National Garden Week, June 2nd through the 8th, the board acknowledges the importance of gardening and the numerous contributions gardeners make to our community. Here to accept, we have the chair of the National Garden Week Committee for the Garden Club of Stuart, Linda Sarubi.
Yes.
Good morning. I am Linda Sarubi of the Garden Club of Stuart. As chair of National Garden Week, I'd like to thank the commissioners and express our sincere appreciation for this proclamation honoring National Garden Week held in June each year. Gardeners and garden club nationwide take this time to celebrate the art of nurturing and beautifying our environment. Here in Stuart, we place creative arrangements in each of Martin County's 6 libraries and include education material regarding the plants and flowers used in each arrangement. Bookmarks, as well as information on the benefits of participating in the Garden Club of Stuart, are provided as handouts. Photos of our displays at the library can be found on our Facebook page. The mission of the Garden Club of Stuart has always been to educate the public about the rewards of gardening. Rewards both to oneself and to others. Rewards such as community pride and conservation. Gardening also promotes both mental and physical health, such as mindfulness and physical exertion. When we garden together, we cultivate beauty, connection, and a brighter future. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And our last proclamation is a proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth Freedom Day in Martin County, Florida.
Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the abolition of slavery in the United States and the emancipation of African American slaves, recognizing the successes gained through education and greater opportunity. Union soldiers landed at Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865, with news that the war had ended and the enslaved were now free. Celebration of Juneteenth reminds us of the precious promises of freedom, equality, and opportunity, which are the core of the American dream. To that end, the board recognizes June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth Freedom Day. And I don't believe I saw Ms. Dooley come in, so we will accept it on her behalf and get it to her.
Next, we'll take up commissioner comments. Commissioner Heatherington.
Yes. We briefed today, and I mentioned this, Ms. Harris has been here, I don't know if she's still here, 3 times, and I would like to ask Ms. Elder if that is adding "So Help Me God" back into the oath. Is that a simple motion from the commission, or is that an ordinance change?
No, that's just a motion from the commission.
I will make a motion to add "So Help Me God" into the oath.
And I third it.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Too bad she's not, she departed. She's not here.
She'll find out. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Mr. Campy.
Thank you, ma'am. We have music in the park once a month in Palm City at the patio at Palm City Place. We don't do July and August for fear that the rain and the weather is just too difficult to plan around. June is also too difficult to plan around. Last Saturday, we had absolutely monsooned in Palm City, but all of the participants were willing to come again this Saturday, the 27th, so we will try one more time for our June Music in the Park. It's on Map Road, just north of the Palm City Fire Station. We have food trucks. It's for all ages, kids, grandparents. It's a great time to get out and meet your neighbors. We feature local musicians of all different types. Each month is something different. So if one month it's not your style, the next month it might. But it's also a great time to meet neighbors, for kids to get away from laptops and iPads and phones. It's a lot of fun. You can picnic, you can buy food from our local restaurants, or you can use our food trucks. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully, we'll see what the weather will bring us this Saturday. You can look at the Chamber's Facebook page or the county's Facebook page to see if at the last minute, we try as hard as we can to make the decision at the last moment. We have a great musician from Jensen Beach that will be performing this Saturday. So I would like to invite you all to come. And then finally, just briefly, I try to highlight, there's people that sadly pass away in our community all the time, but every once in a while there's a pillar. And recently Bob Burson, who has been involved in our community for decades and decades, the Kiwanis Club and all sorts of other organizations, quietly did remarkable work on behalf of our community. He's a lawyer. He represented a lot of not-for-profits pro bono. He served on many boards, the Keep Martin Beautiful board in particular. He was one of their founding members. And all of our respect and condolences to his wife and family and those that called him a friend. So Bob Burson, rest in peace.
He will be missed.
Thank you.
Mr. Capps.
Last week, we had a joint meeting between the school board, the city of Stuart, and the village of Indiantown. And there were about 12 or 15 public speakers who came forward calling for a new community pool in Martin County. Apparently, there are just 1 or 2 of them right now. The one at Martin County High School, which has fallen into disrepair and has been kind of patched up, and then the one at Selfish Splash. But apparently, there's great demand for an additional public pool. The advocates made rather compelling arguments about the demand for the need for this, and how we need to be teaching our kids how to swim and to avoid drownings. And I thought their comments were quite impactful. I just wanted to acknowledge them today, because I think they're going to be continuing to build the case for the need for this, and I wanted to thank them for their concerns about child safety, and to let them know that I would be interested in discussing it further and publicly after we know the results of the proposed tax referendum. I think that could be a very large influence on what we have resources to do after that referendum is dealt with. But I just really wanted just to acknowledge them today, bring a little attention to their concerns, since there were so many of them, and since they had a rather compelling case to make.
Thank you. Commissioner Vargas?
Yes, I was at that meeting also, and I just want to bring some information here that in speaking with Superintendent Maine, and he did say this last time, that the district has invested more than $315,000 in recent upgrades, including depth markings, improved ADA access, rescue equipment, a springboard guardrail, linear determination bars, filtration system repairs, and upgraded disinfection system, along with a full review of the electrical distribution system. The bathroom areas were also renovated, and the entire facility received fresh paint. So it's not in disrepair, it is open. But like other district facilities, including gyms, fields, athletic spaces, the pool is available for community use when it doesn't interfere with other school activities or the district's primary purpose of serving students in our county. I had swim lessons when I was a child. I'm a Florida native. Graduated all the way to the Red Cross, life-saving, and of course, scuba diver. The thing is that the pool is open specifically during window times. It does offer access in the early mornings, evenings, and on weekends. We do have a pool. It is functioning. We've put a lot of money into it. But depending on the request, the group requesting can bring a certified lifeguard or use one provided by the district for an hourly fee, but you also need the custodial support, and you also need security, and that will be billed separately. Now, pools are not inexpensive, and my heart goes out to those that have lost loved ones. However, we are being redundant on requesting a pool when we do have vouchers that are available. And I did verify this again. I do my homework before coming. The Boys and Girls Club, Children's Service Council, the Health Department, the YMCA. And the thing is that you can request the vouchers for private swim schools also. So we have the means. We've already put our dollars behind this. And to just say, well, let's just build another pool, we have Sailfish Splash also. However, in spite of the fact that it's a wonderful pool, we are losing money there.
No, no.
224, yes, we are. 224,626 last year. And this year so far, $378,112. This is big bucks for us at this point. So I think we should ask respectfully for this group to look at what is available here in Martin County to help those that want to learn to swim. These are our tax dollars that come from the state also. I've enumerated them and very happy to speak with anybody who wants to get more information on this.
Mr. Donaldson? Ms. Elder? We will take up now our consent agenda. There are two consent pulls. The first one is consent 5, and the second one is consent 6. Is there somebody here who can take up the discussion on consent 5?
Yeah. Can I go ahead and comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I pulled this one, and I have concerns about the fact that we only have one applicant for the Value Adjustment Board position, and that we cannot tell from the application how long this person has lived in Martin County and how long she has owned homestead property in Martin County. And I think that's really important for the Value Adjustment Board, that someone have local knowledge of real estate and its value, especially when you're dealing with disputes as to the value of property. And I spoke to the clerk of the court who has oversight over the Value Adjustment Board. She said there's no urgency to fill this position. So I would make a motion that we continue this item until we can get clarification on this issue and/or until we can get additional applications.
Second.
Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
I'll re-solicit for applicants.
Thank you. And now we'll take up consent 6, which is the Business Development Board 2025 Annual Report Submittal. Mr. Stokas.
Good morning, Madam Chair. George Stoke, Assistant County Administrator for the record. Before you today is the consent poll. Within this is the annual report submission required by the BDB's contract. To be brief, basically all the attachments are there, including their audit, their annual report, and I believe their financials. The BDB is not requesting additional funds for next budget year. And so we're more than happy to answer any questions, comments, or concerns. Mr. William Corbin, the Executive Director or CEO, I apologize. Executive Director is here to also assist in answering any questions.
Good morning, Mr. Corbin.
Good morning.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions about your budget here. We spoke to you last year about this, and we said we cannot continue to fund this. Seems like a great opportunity for lots of folks to have a good time. And I say that because the salaries are very high. You also have outside services of $121,000 and change. That's a lot of money, a lot of money. In addition to that, business appreciation luncheon, $52,000.
Yes, ma'am. That's our annual business
I
award
understand that, but
lunch event.
$52,000? There's a host of other expenses here, which I won't go into at this moment. Now, I asked Mr. Stokas, and I also asked the director of the airport, somebody who receives a nice salary, as you do, sir, you put him on a plane to Paris. I've been to Paris. I know Paris very well. It's not an inexpensive city nor an inexpensive trip. This is very flamboyant. This is wasteful. You know, we are a small county. We're a small county. That's under 200,000 people. We have another entity here in Martin County that also does the same thing that you do. So I really quite don't understand what it is that you're doing that is different. I think you two ought to marry each other. I do. That is the Economic Council of Martin County. We don't give them money. And if you're economically in tune, you should be able to raise funds from those that support you. I have a whole list of your leadership team that have businesses and no business owners. I can do the math with you. If they want to give you $5,000 and you want $500,000, how much would that be? How many people would you have to touch? You do the math? It's not that many people if they support you. We are in an era of belt tightening. We can no longer afford to support this. Now, somebody wants to go have lunch or have a wonderful meal, that's fine. I will never stand in the way. Commissioner Capps is on your board or he's on your committee, that's fine. But we cannot afford to do this anymore. You were told last meeting, Chairwoman Hurd and myself were the one that spoke to you about this. You haven't done anything except come with your hand out again. So why is that?
So one of our overarching goals at the BDB, if you boil it down, is to assist existing businesses and entrepreneurs connect with resources to help them thrive, to help them succeed, to help them grow. And so that, by doing that, we accomplish the other goal, which is helping to increase the non-residential ad valorem property taxes, which enables you all as leaders to help fund the operation of government. And so this is going to become even more important, especially with property tax reform coming down the pike. You know, right now we have the cap at 3% for residential, commercial. The appraisal cap is 10%. That 7% represents additional value that we can really lean into and we can really help, to foster economically. And that's why we work in those sectors of marine and aviation and manufacturing. That's why we help to, increase the, the business environment and the ability of companies to thrive and grow here in Martin County. So that's what we do. That's our goal. And I believe that our goals, really tie well into the county's goals. And that's why we are working with you to, to help improve the business climate here.
We have another economic council here in Martin County.
So they're focused
So
on a
yeah.
different, a goal. Their goal is more policy-oriented. Our goal is more business assistance-oriented. So there are two different organizations with two different goals. And so I would disagree that, that they should be combined.
Okay, well, maybe you should combine, because if you have other goals and they have their goals, you mesh together, it works well. We have the Florida Department of Commerce, which we pay for with our tax dollars. People can find their way to Martin County if they wish to come here. But these expenditures are out of line, totally out of line. And if you believe so strongly, and those that are on your leadership team, raise the funds for it. Commissioner Capps can still be on your board if you wish.
A lot of
But
those.
we need to be very frugal. You, sir, have spent a lot of money here.
Those expenditures were due to the fact that there was an interim executive director for the better part of a year after the departure of my predecessor, and a lot of the business attraction function was outsourced. And so that is the situation which we came into. It was outsourced to the tune of $10,000 a month, and we have reduced that now, and we don't no longer rely on those consultants. So we've addressed that situation.
Okay, but it still doesn't negate the fact of what I'm telling you. You're an overlap. You may be very nice and all that. You pay somebody as a promoter also. Why? We don't need this. What you need is a pad of paper, a device, whichever you choose, a pen, and walk around and talk with business owners. You don't need fancy offices next door in the office park. You don't need to be jetting off to Paris. You don't need a $50,000 or $60,000 luncheon. You don't need these things. You want them. And I'm the only commissioner standing up and saying, enough is enough. This is your project. I'm not stopping you. I applaud you, but not at taxpayer expense. Not at all.
This is the county's project. We are the contracted organization to perform economic development on behalf of the county. The business plan, all of the items that we have on the agenda here, our annual report speaks to all of that. I encourage you to review that if you have not. It spells out everything that we do, from business attraction, business retention, and how we support the business community. And I think the business community would disagree with you as well.
Well, that may be, but the point is they're not footing the bill.
The business community is your community also.
I understand all of that, and businesses are closing.
And that's why we need to support them even more.
No.
I would argue.
You're not listening. You're just not listening. This is something that's more nationwide, and we have quiet closings also. These are the smaller businesses that may not make the headlines.
And we support the smaller businesses
All right,
every
fine,
day.
but I have to ask a question, Ms. Elder. I understand that somebody dreamed this up to have this particular organization, but I also look to see that this can be terminated within 6 months, either way, correct?
We would have to look at the ordinance. I believe the economic development is enacted through an ordinance, so we'd have to look at that economic development ordinance, and then the board would have to repeal it, most
Okay.
likely.
Yeah, that's fine. I would like to get an answer on that, if you can please do that, but I looked at the contract. This is a waste of taxpayer funds. You can write as, I'm a language arts teacher. I know how to read. And it was very flowery, it was very nice. But this is an unnecessary expense.
I would disagree with you, and I think
Of course
the
you
business
would. You have your
community
salary
disagrees
coming
with you
from,
as
we just
well.
got a report last time. Okay?
Let's
About the upcoming,
let's have a civil
belt tightening.
He's not listening.
And the point is, there may be some others on our commission that may not have the experience of businesses, and they enjoy, the frivolity of this. I've had people come to me, and they can't quite understand why this expenditure still exists. If you're strong and you really, really love the business world, you can stand on your own feet. This is why I pulled this.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. Let me start with my mantra, which I will say every meeting if I need to. That's why there's 5 of us. To all due respect to my colleague, which is getting harder to offer. It's one thing to have a personal opinion. It's another thing to continue to tout your resume. All 4 of the rest of us have resumes. I would have no problem putting my professional resume. She can say little side comments that we're up here just guessing or partying or frivolity. And I respect her position that she was elected to bring her opinion. It's one of 5. Some of us that have years of experience here, which I would count, and I think a majority of the community, at least every time that I've run for election, has found that that experience is important. You can come up with a personal opinion, and you can also do your homework, and I'm not saying she has not done her homework, but it's what she feels is in her mind terrific. I'm being very respectful of her, no matter what happens. I guess we'll do this every meeting. However, I have been through Ron Bunch, Jill Marassa, Tim Dewar. The Business Development Board every several years goes through some kind of a beatdown because someone will show up and doesn't see the value in it. I do. I've been to, if not dozens, hundreds of events that the BDB has participated in or hosted. I've been to hundreds of our local businesses. I happen to work for one that has had tremendous value from not just what you have done, but your predecessors have done. The Business Development Board is made up of, as we've heard, local business leaders, executives, employers, school district members, other municipalities, and it is literally the heart and soul of our business community. The Economic Council is completely different, as you tried to mention. 2 separate entities. The history would show us that we have had opportunities and discussions about merging the 2, and it has never happened because they really identify 2 separate goals. The concept that the commission or the county or the taxpayers have contributed to the BDB's finances has always been an issue, sometimes more than others. It used to be more money, it used to be different. I don't expect that you should be volunteers. I think that you, and I'll speak specifically about you for a moment, we're very, very fortunate in this community that you decided to move your family and be here. I know the story that when you were coming, you came during a hurricane. But that being said, your resume, your reputation, what you have accomplished in other communities, we are very fortunate to have. So although you might be hearing very strongly from one member of our commission, until 3 of us decide that that's the case, it doesn't make a difference how impassioned one member can be and talk about all the different reasons that, you're being overpaid, or that in that person's opinion, the day-to-day operations of where you've decided. I know for a fact the gentleman that went to Paris, that was sponsored, was not tax dollars necessarily. It was a sponsored trip. I also understand that the Paris Air Show is the busiest and most important aviation event globally. One time, one person from the commission, from Martin County, went there. In business, it's difficult to see an immediate return on investment. Sometimes it takes years, or you're laying groundwork and foundations for this. Again, I will close with the fact that every opinion up here out of the 5 of us is valuable. We've been selected by members of our community to be here to give 5 opinions. And until 3 of them are in agreement, I completely support the BDB. I know their work. I know their history. I know the people that are involved. And yes, once in a while, you'll have to come forward and go through a process similar to this. We all have different personalities up here and different ways of presenting information. Not saying one is better than the other. That's for everyone else to decide. But in my vote and opinion, the BDB is an important resource for smaller businesses. It affords them opportunities that they would not be able to get anywhere else, or if they did have to hire professional consultants to give the services and advice that your organization gives free, they might not be able to afford them. And to paint a doom and gloom picture and to constantly say that it's the taxpayers' money and that you somehow seem to be wasting it, today might not be the right day to discuss that the hypocrisy of demanding that every dollar be accounted for, but when commissioners freely spend taxpayer dollars however they see fit and are not held to account that everyone else seems to be held to. That, to me, is the definition of hypocrisy. Thank you.
Mr. Stokas.
Madam Chair, there was a question. The BDB was created in 1990, out of the Chapter 15 element of the 1990 Comprehensive Plan. That's all I wanted.
Mr. Capps.
I think, Commissioner Vargas, your comments could have been a little premature here, and that it might have been better for you to assess this situation after the proposed tax referendum. I think the work of the BDB is very important now, but it can be really important a few months from now, when our ad valorem taxes are greatly diminished. As we remember from the last meeting in the first year, when the exemption is $150,000, we lose, I believe it's $43 million. And in the second year, when the exemption is $250,000, we lose like $75 million. And then when there's full implementation of the exemption for homestead taxes, we lose $176 million. So we live in a very changing landscape, and the work of the BDB in bringing quality commercial and industrial projects and businesses to our community could be key to our survival as a local government in the years to come.
Commissioner Hetherington.
Yes. My comments were on the long lines of Commissioner Capps. I've written down that our revenues are very heavily based, our tax dollars, on residential taxes here. And I think that this just exemplifies what's happening in the state. The BDB is going to be more important than ever to diversify our revenues and to increase our tax base that is commercial and business revenue. So, and not only that, I made a note here that our comprehensive plan requires us to do economic development. So I look forward to supporting you and you supporting the businesses in Martin County to grow and diversify our tax revenue. Thank you.
Commissioner Vargas.
You can exist. And I could not believe my colleague, Commissioner Campy, said that it's getting harder to respect. I beg your pardon, I couldn't believe you said that in public. But anyway, there it is, recorded. Did you get the answer to the question I had about how many businesses, if they want to contribute $5,000, you want $500,000?
I'm happy to discuss anything. I don't think that's relevant to
It's
our conversation.
100 only. You know, the thing is that money is just spent. We are a small county. We have another economic entity. Merge. You have your drift that you want, they have theirs. It could be quite successful, but have the local business community support you. Just as the Chamber of Commerce are supported by their members. What's wrong with that?
I appreciate that, and I will take everything into advisement.
I
do.
wish you would. Thank you.
Commissioners, we will have an opportunity when we do our budget this summer to prepare an evaluation of whether or not we think that the BDB should be funded, and if so, how we do it. If we don't, how we dissemble it. So this is we have another fine opportunity a month away to consider this. And then, as Commissioner Cap said, after the referendum in November, we will be taking another hard look at all of our expenditures. So, do you want me to, Commissioner Vargas, you want me to divide up the consent agenda, accepting out 5 so that you can vote against it?
So in other words, 5 was what, Commissioner Capps?
That's the one that you just pulled.
No, she did 6.
Commissioner-
I'm sorry, 6.
I did 6, yes.
So there's
Commissioner
no
Capps.
action taken, it's just here, the presentation, so there's no
Okay,
action
so
taken on consent.
in that case, can we have a motion to approve the consent
I'll
agenda?
move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We're going to take a 10-minute break now, and then we are going to take up the first item, which it looks like it's public hearing number 1. 51, solid waste.
Okay, good morning.
Good
Melissa
morning.
Petrick, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I'm here on the public hearing number 1. So this is an amendment to an ordinance underneath Chapter 151, which is the solid waste chapter. What this ordinance is doing is amending certain definitions within there. Currently, as written, single-family dwelling units consist of a single home as well as duplexes and triplexes. So underneath our ordinances, those single families, duplexes and triplexes actually get curbside waste management pickup. So that means their garbage pail goes down to their end of the driveway, and then our waste management contractor picks up their garbage. Those homes they pay for that service through their non-ad valorem taxes. As written, a multifamily, which would be something larger than a triplex, is either treated with a commercial dumpster or they can actually get curbside pickup. But those multifamily units are actually billed by our waste management contractor because of the way our ordinance is written. So what the amendment does here, it clarifies a single-family home and a multifamily to be any home that receives the curbside pickup. And then we also still have those other multifamilies that receive the container pickup. It allows us the authority to place all multifamily and single-family homes that get curbside pickup on the non-ad valorem taxes. So now, all of those homes will just be paying for their services directly through their non-ad valorem assessments. Those entities that are still getting the container pickup, think of like a condo building that has the garbage dumpster outside, they are billed then through waste management. This streamlines our billing process. This will allow for more efficient collection of the the waste management fees. And then ultimately, our waste management contractor is not going to be having, or there won't be bad debt or old debt that they can't go after and be collecting. So staffs, and now this is a public hearing, this was advertised appropriately, and so our recommendation is going to be that the board move the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 151, Solid Waste, Article 1, General Provisions, Article 3, Assessments, Article 4, Collection of the Assessment, Article 5, Collection and Disposal of the General Ordinances of Martin County. And I do believe we need public comment if there is any.
Questions for staff? Would anyone from the public like to address us? Seeing none, back to the board.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will take up public hearing quasi judicial number 1, which is a public hearing to consider adoption of an amendment to the Martin County zoning atlas to change the zoning district classification for the Jesus House of Hope. This is quasi judicial. Any ex parte disclosures? Commissioner Vargas.
If I have any, they have been filed.
Commissioner Capps?
If I have any, they have been filed.
I don't have any, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy?
If I have any, they've been filed.
And Commissioner Heatherington?
If any, they've been filed.
Mr. Elam, have you provided all relevant materials to the clerk?
A copy of my work history and the agenda item, turned in for Exhibit 1.
Anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. She had it right off the bat.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by Kotler and Hearing and Coastal Life Church Corporation on behalf of Jesus House of Hope Corporation for proposed amendment to the county zoning atlas consistent with the existing future land use. The subject property is one parcel that is approximately 43.9 acres. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption. Subject site is located in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Southwest Martin Highway and Southwest Martingale Drive, approximately a half-mile east of Interstate 95 in Palm City. The current zoning on the property is A2 Agricultural District, which is a Category C zoning district. consistent with the agricultural future land use that limits residential density to one single-family residence per 20-acre tract. The underlying future land use on the property is agricultural ranchette. The current A2 zoning district is not consistent with the future land use, therefore this request to rezone is considered mandatory. There are two standard Category A zoning districts available to implement the agricultural ranchette land use policies of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, which are AR5A, Agricultural Ranchette District, and AR10A, Agricultural Ranchette District. The PUD, or Planned Unit Development District, is also an available option. The PUD district offers more design flexibility to applicants for proposed projects. In exchange, the district requires additional benefits to the county and more controls by the county. The applicant is requesting the AR5A Agricultural Ranchette District, which is a Category A zoning district consistent with the future land use and compatible with the character of the existing land uses in the surrounding areas and consistent with the documented zoning changes in the area. This is a slide which shows the development standards and structure setbacks for both the standard zoning districts, AR5A and AR10A. They're identical except for in the minimum lot size, 1 unit per 5 acre and 1 unit per 10 acre. This application was heard before the local planning agency on June 18th. The LP voted 4 to 1? I think. 4 to 1. 3 to 1?
Yes,
4 to 1. 4 to 1 in favor of staff's recommendation approving this rezoning. Development review staff have found that Jesus House of Hope Corporation rezoning application to comply with all applicable regulations, and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan is detailed in the staff report. And staff recommends approval of the rezoning request by Jesus House of Hope Corporation. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and all its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1. I move that the board approve the request to rezone from A2 Agricultural District to AR5A Agricultural Ranchette District. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Elam? Applicant, would you like to make a presentation? Good morning.
Good morning. All right, good morning, County Commissioners, Chair Hurd. My name is Leah Heinzelman with Kotler and Hearing, here on behalf of Coastal Life Church and the property owner, Jesus House of Hope. I want to thank staff for their presentation, and today we are presenting a mandatory rezoning application that is required to bring the property zoning into consistency with the adopted agricultural ranchette future land use designation. Is my presentation?
Do you have the thumb drive?
I do have the thumb drive. There we go. One moment. All right. Yep, there we go. All right. So represented here today is a team that has worked collaboratively with Martin County staff throughout the review process, and we're happy to answer any of the questions that you may have. So the request before you is very straightforward. The property currently carries an agricultural ranchette future land use designation, but carries an older A2 zoning classification that predates Martin County's Comprehensive Growth Management Plan. County regulations identify this inconsistency and require a mandatory rezoning to a compatible zoning district. Accordingly, we are requesting rezoning from A2 to AR5A. This is not a request for additional development rights. This is a code-required action to align the zoning map with the county's adopted future land use map. Subject property consists of approximately 44 acres located on the southeast corner of Southwest Martin Highway and Southwest Martingale Drive, approximately 1/2 mile east of I-95. The site is situated within an area characterized by agriculture ranchette land uses and larger rural residential properties, while industrial designated properties exist to the west and the south. The existing A2 zoning district is a legacy zoning classification established under Martin County's 1967 zoning code. While the zoning has remained unchanged, the property's future land use designation was established as a Granchette under the county's comprehensive growth management plan. As noted in the staff report, this creates an inconsistency between the zoning district and future land use designation that must be corrected through the mandatory rezoning process. The A Ranch future land use category allows a density of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres and establishes the policy framework for the property. The current A2 zoning does not implement those adopted policies, which is why the county code requires this rezoning application. This is perhaps the most important slide of today's presentation. A place of worship is already a permitted use within the A2 zoning district. However, because the property zoning inconsistency, county regulations require it to be resolved before future development approvals can proceed. Staff conducted a comprehensive review of the application and reached several important conclusions. They found that the proposed AR5A zoning district is consistent with the A Granchette future land use designation. The request is consistent with the comprehensive growth management plan. The request is consistent with the land development regulations. Rezoning is compatible with surrounding development patterns, and the proposal implements the future land use assigned to the property. These findings directly support approval of this application, and it's also been noted that this rezoning does not increase density or development intensity. There are no policy changes required, no exceptions are requested, and no comp plan amendments are requested. So this zoning just simply aligns the zoning map with the future land use map that's already been adopted by Martin County. And as staff stated in their report, amendments to the zoning atlas do not authorize development and do not result in increased demand on the public facilities. So this property remains subject to all future permitting and development review requirements. So as shown on the screen, the application meets all the criteria for approval. It's consistent with the A Granchette future land use designation, implements the comprehensive growth management plan and land development regulations, creates no increase in density or public facility impacts, and establishes consistency between the future land use map and zoning atlas. So we appreciate staff's coordination on this and their recommendation for approval, and we would request that from all of you as well, and we appreciate your time. And at this point, I'd like to invite James Pendleton to come up and say a few words.
Commissioners, thank you. I just want to introduce myself. My name is James Pendleton. I'm the lead pastor at Coastal Life Church. My family and I have lived and been a part of Martin County for almost 25 years. Coastal Life Church has been a part of Martin County for almost 18 years, and we as a church love this county, love the people of this county. And I'm excited to be in partnership with House of Hope and Rob Ranieri and his staff, and as they serve this community in the ways that they do, we as a church want to continue to be able to serve the families of Martin County and do what we do. And so I just want to thank you for considering our request in this application, and thank you for serving our community, because I know it is not always easy. So thank you very much.
Questions for Mr. Pendleton or Ms. Heinzelman? Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. Not necessarily a question, and I know you'll take public comment, but I'm appreciative. I know that the Coastal Life Church has been looking to, as a congregation, has been growing. A lot of friends and Palm City neighbors are members of your church, and I know that you've been looking for a larger footprint for quite a long time, so I'm happy that it's sort of found its way, especially, like you said, to coordinate and work with the House of Hope is terrific. I just wanted to make a point that earlier, we had a woman that had been here several times asking us to add in God, So Help Me God back to oaths, and we unanimously voted on it. And then the first agenda item, which is quasi-judicial, which would require us to have you be sworn in as witnesses, Layla added in So Help Me God, and the agenda item was Jesus House of Hope and Coastal Life Church. So if there's divine intervention, I think that would be today. And so with that, I would make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
And I would gladly second it.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public like to address us? I don't see any. Commissioner Vargas.
Yes, hi, this would be for both Pastor, you also. I do know Pastor Pendleton. Met him at the gym.
Yes.
So he was staying fit, okay? Not just spiritually, but in body, too. I think that some of the concerns, and I just want you to address this so that it's recorded, folks were concerned you were going to be building homes, tiny homes on this property. I did express this to our staff also. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I'll gladly speak to that. I do believe, without knowing details, I do believe there was some misunderstanding, maybe some misinformation. We have no plans of building any kind of residential place or tiny homes or housing of any kind on this future development.
Right. Is this the same for Jesus House of Hope also, Mr. Ranieri? Correct. Okay, that's good. You're comfortable back there. That's fine. Okay, I understand this property also has quite a bit of wetlands on it, as I saw, and the staff did point that out to me. So you, I think, Pastor Pendleton, will want to build a gym in the future if all works out well?
We have future plans of not sure exactly what all we want to develop. That's part of it. But we also, in addressing what you're talking about, the wetlands and preserves, we are prepared to maintain those wetlands and preserve as they should be maintained.
As God put them there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the other thing is, you'll be on septic?
Right now, our development plan is on, I'm going to make sure I'm using the right technology.
It's okay.
Terminology, well and septic, yes.
Yeah,
that is our-
septic, okay,
that is
because
our-
we don't have water there, and you're aware of that. And what about fire suppression? How will you handle that?
So part of our plan right now is water tanks and our fire suppression system being taken care of through stored water.
Yes, I understand. And then potable water for the facilities?
That would be an engineering question at the time of final site plan. And I believe our engineer has that underway with how the potable is going to be coming to the church.
So would that be a tank, or, because this is outside the urban service boundary, isn't it?
Commissioners, just
Yes, it
to-
is, but that's part of the final
Just
site
a
plan.
reminder that this is not a site plan approval, it's just a zoning, and so the zoning category has all the different uses in it, and would still require coming back with a site plan approval, which would enumerate all of the requirements for getting a development order, road access, water, sewer, those types of things. This is an unusual site that it does have water and sewer out front, but the property is ineligible due to the comp plan requirements.
I understand. These were questions posed by members of the community, so I was trying to get more information from that. So later on, Mr. Elam, we will be addressing the potable water
Yes, that's in the final site plan
for
review.
both entities.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Capps.
Yes, I wonder if we could turn to page 216. And I'll bring our attention down to the very last line on the page of 216, and then we'll go into 217. There are two standard Category A zoning districts available to implement the agricultural ranchette land use policies of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, which are AR 5A Agricultural Ranchette District with a minimum lot area of 5 acres, and AR 10A Agricultural Ranchette District with a minimum lot area of 10 acres, in addition to the standard zoning district. The PUD, Planned Unit Development District, is also available as an option. The PUD district offers more design flexibility to applicants for proposed projects. In exchange, the district requires additional benefits to the county and more controls by the county. It seems to me that what we're angling toward here is to change the zoning, and then if we did that, if we changed it to AR 5A or AR 10A, the next step would be a final site plan.
Correct.
Right, and that kind of sets up what you might call a by right project, where the commission doesn't really have much of a say on the details. Whereas if we went with a PUD, the commission would have more input because, and we have more discretion because public benefits have to be offered. And I feel more comfortable with the PUD in this particular case because of where this land is. It's got a very storied history that has to do with the water and sewer lines. That's a long discussion. But what we're real concerned about in that area of the county there on 714, out close to I-95, is an explosion of development. And all that would need to happen for that area to turn into Indiantown Road, like in Jupiter, would be for everyone to be able to tap into water and sewer lines that are there. So that's a big concern of the commission and to the residents of Western Palm City who bought their properties in a rural area. And, you know, there's a lot of growth that goes on out there, even by right. And it's a sensitive situation. And PUD sounds better to me because then we have more discretion. You don't have a lot of discretion with by right projects and final site plan approvals. So I would like to make a substitute motion that we go with PUD zoning on this project.
Commissioner Vargas.
Okay, if we were to look at and approve the PUD zoning, would this be still, would this still work? This would not impede what the plans are. Is that correct, Mr. Elam?
I would really have to look to my legal. I don't know that we can require a PUD zoning on a mandatory rezoning.
So,
I don't know if that's possible.
so it's a mandatory rezoning. The applicant is required to rezone it. For the existing future land use, there are the two zoning districts that are compatible. They are 5 is what they're asking for. We can't force them to enter into PUD agreement. That's a mutual beneficial relationship, but the county is requiring them to rezone it. So a PUD has to be agreeable by both sides usually, so you can't force a PUD zoning agreement. And then I have my light on, Commissioner Hurd, because I was just going to reiterate what Don said before, and that the specific use that this applicant is doing is not an issue in a rezoning. You have to just consider all the uses. So whether or not they're going to do a church or a house of hope, they're not bound by that. And I just wanted to remind the board that in their evaluation. But you can't force someone to do PUD zoning. They would have to be agreeable to it.
In light of that, I'll withdraw that motion then.
Mr. Fox, is this your light?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
Mr. Walden, somebody who's?
Yes, this was mine.
Okay.
Sebastian Fox, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Just wanted to make the record clear that the required notice to neighboring property owners was provided by the applicant at the LPA.
Okay. Would anyone from the public like to address us? Then we will return to the board for discussion of whether to move staff's recommendation of 10 or 5 units per acre.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
Say we get to the next step, say we approve this and we get to the next step, it's the final site plan. What if they changed their mind and said, we want water and sewer?
So in order for them to have water and sewer, there would have to be a text amendment to the comprehensive plan. So under the future land use, they're entitled to the 5-acre lots for residential housing, but they're not entitled to water and sewer. So to extend water and sewer would be a decision of the board. It would be a legislative decision based on the comp plan, because there would need to be some kind of comp plan language added or an exception or something. So they're not entitled to water and sewer if you change the zoning. They're just entitled to the 5, one house every 5 acres, which they're entitled to under the land use right now.
Right.
Well, I'm good with that then.
We have a motion in a second.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We will now take up public hearing quasi judicial number 2, which is a first public hearing to consider approval of the First Amendment to the development agreement between Martin County and the master developer for Newfield. This is quasi judicial. Any ex parte disclosures? Commissioner Vargas.
I have none, but it's been filed, the report.
If I have any, they have been filed.
If I have any, they've been filed. Commissioner Campy
I have some, and I filed them.
and Commissioner Heatherington.
If I have any, they've been filed.
And has staff submitted all required documents to the clerk?
Submitting the agenda item, and my work history is Exhibit 1.
If you're going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Excellent. Mr. Walden.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Peter Walden, the Deputy Growth Management Director, and with me today is John Mail, the Environmental Systems Manager?
Environmental Resource Administrator.
Resource Administrator,
It's
I'm
a
sorry.
mouthful.
Yeah. So we're here today to discuss the First Amendment to the Newfield Development Agreement.
Free speech?
Excuse me?
I thought, is it free speech? Is that what they're asking for?
No. So some brief history on the project. It's been 8 years in the making already. In 2018, the mixed-use village land use specific to the Newfield development was assigned to 3,400 acres in western Palm City. A month later, we approved the ordinance 1083, which created Article 11, which is the land development regulations specific to the Newfield project. It's a form-based code, and it's also consistent with the land use. 2 years later, the board approved a development agreement between the master developer and Martin County, and they also approved the first master plan for Newfield, which was the Crossroads Master, which included about 1,200 residential units and some commercial properties. And also at that time, a Newfield Community Development District was approved. Since then, conservation easements have been applied to the 2,200 acres of the areas for open space. The SDW Workplace Master Plan has been approved. Trailheads have been site planned and constructed. A soccer fields complex of 4 fields is going to be opening soon. That's been site planned and approved and been under construction for a while. Parks Master Plan has been approved, and numerous residential and commercial plans and plats have been approved in the Crossroads neighborhood. So today, staff is initiating an amendment to the development agreement. It's pursuant to Article 7 and state statutes. It requires 2 public hearings. This is the first. They were noticed in the newspaper and to the residential areas. Mailings were sent out. And there's only one section of the development agreement we're amending today, or proposing, and that's 7.0B, which refers to the open space conservation areas. We'd like to add a use to the property. Right now, it is specifically relegated to a stormwater treatment area. And we'd like to expand on that, and John Mail is going to go into that part of the program. But impact fees are part of the developer agreement for this area, and it's an important part of the whole development program for Newfield. And this is the areas we're talking about. This is the Crossroads neighborhood under development for Newfield. This is an existing fine site where we're going to work in collaboration with them, and this would be Newfield's contribution to that site. And I'm going to turn it over to John because he has the specifics of how all of this would take place and what the amendment is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. John Mail, Environmental Resource Administrator. Thank you, Board Chair and Board. I just want to contextualize this amendment a bit and explain a little bit about why I'm even at the table for a growth management issue. And when this was originally contemplated and approved as an agreement in 2018, building a stormwater treatment area on the C-23 was a profoundly progressive and cool idea. At the time, we had made very little progress with the IRL South SERP projects, which were identified to build watershed improvements on the C-23 and C-24 basins in western St. Lucie and western Martin County. And the county saw an opportunity with this private partnership to meet the needs of water quality in the C-23 before it gets to the St. Lucie estuary and river and the impacts that brings with it. So it's really a profound idea. I would have been proud to call it my own. I wasn't here then. But in 2024, when the developer brought this forward to start beginning design elements of this stormwater treatment area, it ended up on my desk, and I was looking at this and thinking about the challenges that they would have today with that type of project. And that's namely because of the profound progress that the Corps of Engineers and the Water Management District had made on the IRL South SERP project. Between 2018 and 2024, billions of dollars had been directed to this project, and we had already completed, basically for all intents and purposes, the C-44 reservoir and STA. The C-2324 stormwater treatment area went from an idea to basically completed. The C-2324 North Reservoir was under construction and is anticipated to be completed in a few years. And the C-2324 South Reservoir was fully designed, shovel-ready, and is just awaiting its turn in the funding cycle for construction. In addition to the progress that we made in Everglades restoration in that basin, the state awarded large dispersed water farm projects that takes water out of the canal and puts it onto fallow citrus or unused agricultural land for aquifer recharge, for evapotranspiration, and for water quality. And in addition to that, Port St. Lucie had started a big project that's very much like a water farm at McCarty Ranch, which takes water from the canal and puts it into a man-made wetland for treatment and aquifer recharge. So with all of those changes in the basin, building another STA right at the tailwater of the C-23 didn't have as much value to the public as it did in 2018. And as I was looking at this and thinking about the implications, I remembered that in the IRL South project implementation report, there was a box on a map in this very location that had identified this as the most suitable location to spoil dredge material from the restoration phase of IRL South. So IRL South was really divided into two phases when it was originally authorized in WRDA 2007. The first phase dealt with all those watershed improvements where you would store and treat water from the basin so that it wouldn't get to the St. Lucie River and continue to degrade what had been degraded for 100 years. The second phase of that project is really geared towards the actual restoration. And if you would suffer me an illustration to help make this make sense for the general public, fixing the watershed is like repairing a roof after a hurricane rips it off. Well, we all know that if your roof gets, I have a hard time saying roof from Iowa, it's a thing. If your roof gets ripped off in a storm, everything in the house gets destroyed, right? So fixing the watershed is like replacing the roof. If I just replace the roof and I tell the occupants, so you can move back into your house now, they're going to say, no thanks, it's full of mold, it's totally degraded, the paint's destroyed, the walls are destroyed, the carpet's destroyed, the cabinets are gone. The restoration phase is where you go back into the house after the house has been sealed and you replace all that and make it livable again. That's what this project does. What phase 2 of IRL South is, it fixes the interior of the house and makes it livable again. So to not do that element or to not contemplate that, we could spend billions of dollars in the watershed and really have not created a livable house again for our seagrasses, for the oyster, for all the different fauna that depend on that. And I'm going to read something, if you would allow me one more minute, from the actual project implementation report from 2007 when Congress approved this. It says, without removing or remediation to below the resuspension zone, each wind event will resuspend the sediment and ultimately decrease light availability and increase algal growth. Each of these situations will decrease the recruitment and production of both SAV and oysters, resulting in a system that will continue to be highly stressed. And then jumping ahead a bit, it continues, removal of St. Lucie estuary sediments has been identified as a component that may bring about an immediate and potentially dramatic improvement in water quality, as well as improvements in habitat quality and extent. And it goes on to identify the merits of this particular location for this project. So when I was looking at this and thinking about what would be a more suitable public benefit, I thought this is our one chance to actually preserve this property for this project. And then we can go to the Army Corps of Engineers and say, hey, the biggest hurdle you have in completing this project has been achieved, at least in part, by the county's partnership with this developer. And I'd like to give credit to the developer I actually approached them about this. It wasn't something they brought to us. And for them to have the flexibility to accommodate this pretty significant change in their planning, I think is noteworthy. In addition to, I don't know that the developer has comments, but in addition to them, I also invited our partners from the Corps of Engineers, the Water Management District, and Florida Inland Navigation District, which owns the site on the east side there, to make comment if they would like.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Great.
Commissioner Hurd, fellow commissioners, Major Corey Bell, Deputy Commander for South Florida, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Proposed permanent uplands disposal site is critical for the demucking of the Indian River Lagoon South project through the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan. The identified site will provide approximately 125 acres of stored material, which is just south of the C-23 canal and just to the east of the Florida Inland Navigation DMMA site, which will result in approximately 250 acres of storage, which will provide easier logistical challenges for the dredge material and operations because it's centrally located within the project footprint for the demucking project. The demucking of the IRL South will provide 2,650 acres of clean substrate, which will improve the quality for the organisms and ecosystems there. Any of your questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Kennedy from the Florida Inland Navigation District. He's our board representative for Martin County.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Navigation District. We are your neighbors on this property. We have the 125 acres plus or minus just to the east. This will give us an opportunity to collaborate, to work together on this. Personally, I've been watching this 7.9 million cubic yards of material removal with a lot of hope. I've had the extreme displeasure of falling in the river and going up to almost to my thighs and that stuff. It's atrocious. Dawn doesn't get it off. This is a good opportunity for the district and the county to work together on a great location. I'm wearing another hat here today, too. I'm also with the Coastal Conservation Association. We considered this project last week. We support it. We don't do a lot of high-level stuff here in Martin County in terms of publicity, but we are co-oping on Boy Scout Island. I think we provided a substantial funding to get the Phase 1 going. Find is in the process of considering that too. We had a presentation last Saturday. This is a great opportunity, and we'd encourage you to move ahead. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Mr. Kennedy or Major Bell?
I know what you're talking about, the dishwashing soap.
Yeah.
As a former boater.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. Commissioner Capps.
Seems like a great thing and a great idea. Finding muck sites whenever muck removal actually happens from our rivers, as authorized by Congress through SERP. It's in the plan, but my concern is that anytime you're dealing with congressional funding for things like this, it can take forever. What if we never get the funding to do muck removal say 10 years have gone by, or 20 years, or 30 years, or 40 years. I mean, they've been talking about, well, SERP went into effect in the year 2000. That was 26 years ago. And the muck removal hasn't been done yet, and it's, who knows when it will be done. Say, just say long periods of time have gone by and nothing has happened, and we could have had a nice STA for environmental enhancements in the area, and now it's just an open field. Like, how could we put a safeguard in there, like this agreement that we're asked to approve? Could it have a provision in it that says that every 10 years we're going to take another look and reevaluate, or something like that?
So Commissioner Elise Elder, so the way it's written, that the county can use it for environmental purposes, including this muck removal, we don't have to, we just have to use it for environmental purposes. So there's nothing requiring us to do the muck removal, so to speak. It's an environmental parcel to for the county to use for environmental purposes.
Okay, so we would have control over that, and we could switch course and do an STA. Okay, because the county's coming into ownership of this land.
That's right.
Right. Okay, good enough.
So we have flexibility.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Thank you. So this is not our application. I'm Kristen Spake of the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of Mattamy, the developer. I'm here because I want to make sure that our notice affidavit gets onto the record. And we appreciate, that we could cooperate in this endeavor. And I'm joined by Representative of Mattamy if you all have any questions for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. First off, job well done, appreciated. I know that we had the opportunity to speak about it. It's one of those topics, it's not like the sexy, beautiful projects, but like you said, it's very important that it still gets done. And I wanted to thank our neighbors and friends at Newfield and Mattamy, because when they listed off, when Mr. Walden listed off the sort of the history of the project and where we've come from, those soccer fields is a collaboration with our Parks and Rec department that the owners or the Newfield folks built at their expense, and they're beautiful, and all of the amenities, the restrooms and the things that go with them, they put them right along Newfield Parkway so that we could collaborate, and our residents, not just the residents that live in Newfield, but all Martin County residents, or specifically a lot of the kids that will live in the Palm City area, will get the opportunity to use those, so they're not fenced off and closed off. You're also building a beautiful public library that will be folded into our public library system. Now, here's another example. You also did all of the Kiplinger Conservancy trails that are open to everyone. I know that Knight's vision was no gates, no private, you can't go there. So you've really have done an excellent job of keeping with what Knight Kiplinger had said he wanted for the community when we all approved it. And here's another example. It's sort of more of the, the utility mechanical side of it, but like we heard, you could have used that property. You had a plan to use that property for something else, and I know that switching in midstream is expensive and time-consuming, and you did it anyway. So thank you to you, to our friends at the Army Corps and Find. I mean, we like to have you come. You're more than welcome to come as often as you want, because I feel that when you gentlemen are sitting in those seats, things get accomplished. And to our staff, we really work on these things, beyond the obvious things. As Mr. Mail said, there's a lot of technical aspects in order to keep the water clean, and we're working on them all. So it's my pleasure to make a motion to accept this staff's recommendation in District 5.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Yes, I'll just say, John Mayle, that was a perfect analogy. The roof analogy was very good. And without muck removal, it's going to be essential to the restoration of our lagoon. So I know that Commissioner Hurd, I believe, had muck removal on her priorities this year. I think this is a great first step. We look forward to getting funding to go to the next step, and thank you for your partnership, Mattamy, in accomplishing this. And I will say too, on a side note, I would love to still see how Banana River, that restoration was very successful. I would love for us to see a presentation on how they accomplished that, where the funding came from, and because I've heard great success stories for that. With that, I will gladly second it.
Madam Chair, may I just also recommend that Mr. Mail reach out to Congressman Mast from the financial side? I know he's very interested in helping with these projects.
I have one request to speak form, and that's from Jim Moyer. If anyone else would like to address us, please fill out a request to speak form, hand it to the bailiff, who will get it to me. Nice to see you walking again, Mr. Moyer. It's been a while, a year.
To be trying. It has been a little over a year. Hi, my name is Jim Moyer. Thank you, commissioners, for being here, and thank you, staff, and Army Corps and FIND and Madam E. Holmes. I'm a huge fan of IRL South, but I want to just say not so fast. Dredge spoils from the Indian River Lagoon and from the St. Lucie Estuary are laden with salts and other minerals as well as contaminants. You know, the site that's being proposed is actually upstream of the salinity control devices on the C-23. We're spending an enormous amount of money and time on the C-23, C-25 connector canal into the C-44 SDA and reservoir. I'm more than a little concerned that these efforts at restoring these or creating SDAs that are functional and useful may be affected by storing, 2.4 million cubic yards of dredge spoils. I think it's instructive to recall when Manatee Pocket had its environmental dredging project, that was between 250 and 280,000 cubic yards. We're talking, many, many more times that volume of dredge spoils being stored in a residential development area on properties that had been designated or previously used for agriculture. Salting agriculture is a, age-old technique of destroying it for future use. I know that there are technologies and innovations out there that could be used. I was sort of joking around the other day saying that, maybe we could have a salt spa or, some bougie, culinary spice or something like that. But we need to figure out what we're going to do with the salt. Brevard County's soil program was going to remove something on the order of 6 million cubic yards of muck from the upper IRL, Banana River, and Mosquito Lagoon. They've managed to get rid of about 2 million cubic yards so far. They're using about $600 million to do that. They are now having to dispose of that dredge spoil material in solid waste facilities rather than being able to spread it. There has not been yet any agricultural amendment discovered for this. It's uncompressible because it's hydroscopic. We just don't have all the answers yet. I look forward to helping in any way I can. The IRL South is a very valuable project. I don't mean this to be in the way, but I think we need to consider all of the negative implications. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Elder.
So there are 2 public hearings required for the amendment of a development order, so there's no board action needed today. We'll have another public hearing at the next scheduled board meeting, so I just wanted to point that out.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Till next time.
Okay.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yeah, so this is just a report. Is that what I'm understanding?
This is the first of 2 public hearings, so we have to have 2 public hearings, so we're presenting it to the board so you can hear and understand it, and public can make comment. We're going to come back and present the same thing at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, and it'll be advertised as well.
Okay. Mr. Mail, you lay things out beautifully, and especially for those of us that are lay people and are trying to understand the scope of this. I understand it's an important project, but possibly we should address what Mr. Moyer has, brought his concerns here legitimately. and see if there's another way of looking at this, because we will have to sit again and listen to the petition for this particular project. So possibly we could schedule time to talk in between.
You bet. I would just say that there are some innovative approaches to DMMA management and dredging, and we'll have the opportunity to work with the Corps on the development of this project over several years. This won't begin right away, but having the land conveyed gives us the opportunity to have that conversation.
Yeah, I have worked tirelessly from 2002 to 2007 in order to get this project authorized first by the Corps, then by Congress. It was authorized by Congress in 2007. Since that time, I've worked just as hard to get it funded by the state and by the federal government. We have been very successful in the last 15 years. We've completed and are working at completing some wonderful, wonderful essential projects, those being reservoirs and STAs, about 9,000 acres of reservoirs, about 10,000 acres of stormwater treatment areas. Those are terrific projects. They're working in part. They will continue to improve water quality. They are engineered repairs, and the goal of Everglades restoration is ecosystem restoration, not engineered repairs. So the final two projects in IRL South, which are unique to IRL South, are natural lands, and we're well on our way toward acquiring those lands, which will certainly clean up our water, store our water, recharge the aquifers, and then the final project is muck removal. And the reason that the Indian River Lagoon is the most biodiverse estuary in North America is for a number of reasons, that conditions that exist here that exist no place else in the United States. And one of them is a substrate of white sand that no longer exists because of 100 years of punishing discharges from Lake Okeechobee. So this is the last important part of Indian River Lagoon South. We will never, ever complete Indian River Lagoon South unless we take this final step. It's systemic. It's restoring an ecosystem to historic conditions as close as we can get it. We have to think bigger and bolder and better. And this is the removing that 9 million cubic yards of muck is absolutely essential. So I will gladly support this. I think it's, and also Colonel Bowman said 2 weeks ago at the County Coalition that the Army Corps is prioritizing IRL South and SEP. Those are the two projects that they are supporting in no uncertain terms. That's important. They are going to fund it. For them not to fund it would require congressional deauthorization, and that's never going to happen. Commissioner Capps.
I would just like to commend Chair Hurd for her tireless work on comprehensive Everglades restoration and IRL South. It's a real testament to her experience and her depth of understanding on these issues. I always enjoy hearing her talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hetherington.
Yep. And then I would also point out that I believe that there will be technology. If you look at the contract that Martin County entered, where we have the VARCOR Technologies and Cedron Industries that are taking solid waste and separating that by high heat and coming out with a solid and a byproduct of water. And I'm not a scientist, but my thought is that there are brilliant people like Cedron and those technologies that can figure out how to take these spoils and separate that and address some of the concerns that you mentioned, Mr. Moyer. I have faith that there's technology to do that, and I hope that there will be funding for the research and development of it.
Thank you, Army Corps. Thank you, Fine. Thank you, Madame. This is terrific progress.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we take up Department 1? afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning. Stephanie Murley, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, here to present 8 items on OMB today. Our first item is a permission to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance FY25 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program funding opportunity. The Martin County Sheriff's Office is requesting application of $357,899.09 for funding that will help offset costs due to incarceration of undocumented criminal aliens within the Martin County Sheriff's Office Correctional Facility. This program helps reduce the financial burden placed on local taxpayers while allowing the Sheriff's Office to continue providing essential correctional services, and there is no cash match required. The second item is a permission to apply for the Children's Services Council grant program, the After School, Out of School Program Grant. This is a grant that the county receives annually. Our Parks and Recreation is requesting up to $410,000 for funding that will pay for staff, maintenance, supplies, and programming at various county community centers. These programs will include homework help and educational components for youth in Martin County at no cost. There is a grant match of $350,590 and is currently budgeted within the Parks and Recreation operational budget. Item number 3 is a permission to apply for the Florida Department of State Division of Historical Resources Special Category Grant Program. Our General Services Department is requesting permission to apply for $354,450 for the restoration rehabilitation of the boathouse building of the House of Refuge Historic Site. The work will include restoration and rehab of exterior siding, windows, doors, roof replacement, and structural framing repairs and weatherroofing. There is a grant match of $354,450, which is currently budgeted in the Public Buildings Historical Fixed Asset Replacement Budget. Item number 4 is a permission to accept the Small County Outreach Program, or the SCOP grant, for the Southeast Bridge Road Bascule Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Our Public Works is requesting acceptance of $1,754,232 for funding the scour protection and fender repair of the bridge in construction, engineering, and inspection services of the project. Anything over and above the grant will be budgeted in the FY26 Roads Capital Improvement Program. Item number 5 is a permission to accept the State of Florida's Department of Health Bureau of Tobacco-Free Florida grant. Our Human Services Department is requesting acceptance of a grant renewal of $841,965 to provide tobacco cessation and prevention education and policy advocacy. The funds will allow Martin County to work with community groups and agencies to advocate for tobacco policy changes and implementation, and there is no cash match required. Item number 6 is a permission to accept the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, grant for the extension of Taxiway A Hold Bay. Our airport is requesting a grant award of $1,125,913 for the cost of constructing the Hold Bay extension at runway 12, end of Taxiway Alpha. There is a local share in the amount of $29,630 that is programmed in the Airport Capital Improvement Plan through the Airport Enterprise Funds.
Yeah, it is.
Item number 7 is permission to accept the FAA grant for the reconstruction of runway 1230 runway end identifier lights. Airport is requesting the grant award of $774,478 for the replacement of those various items on runway 1230 with LED units. There is a local share in the amount of $20,381 that is programmed in the Airport Capital Improvement Plan in the Airport Enterprise Fund. And item number 8 is adjustments to the fiscal year 2026 budget. The Office of Management and Budget is in receipt of funds of $1,163,042 for the state Florida Housing Finance Corporation, or SHIP program funds. These funds assist qualified homeowners to bring their homes up to current code requirements and quality of life standards. The funding also assists qualified households with sewer and water hookups, home demolition replacement, and rental assistance. And OMB is requesting the adoption of a budget resolution to allocate these funds in the FY26 budget. And that's what I have today.
That's all?
Commissioner Capps.
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Gorton about number 4. That's the Hobe Sound Bridge Road. And since I'm the District 3 guy, I just want a little explanation about what scour protection is and what fender repair is and why that was needed.
Okay, so Jim Gorton, Public Works Director. That bridge, we have 2 bridges in Martin County that are considered scour critical, which means after a severe storm, we have to, before we can allow traffic to go over those bridges, we have to inspect the structure of the bridge to make sure there hasn't been scour. And by scour, what I mean is erosion of the bottom of the river that could impact the pilings that are in the water there. So for scour protection, what we do is we excavate the bottom of the channel and put in essentially riprap boulders below the bottom. It won't impact boats. It won't impact depth of folks trying to traverse through that area. But what it'll do is keep erosion from occurring around the pilings of the bridge. So that's what the scour protection piece of it is. And then we will no longer have a scour critical bridge anymore. The other one is 96th Street Bridge, or the Arundel Shop Bridge. And that one we have a project in design as well right now, and also have a grant for that. And then the fender system is, if you notice on bridges, there's usually kind of a wooden dock that's on both sides of the channel. That's considered the fender, and that's there to actually keep boats from running into the pilings. So that fender delineates where the channel is, and it also is essentially a bumper that keeps those vessels from running into the structure of the bridge. So that is made out of wood. And has in a marine atmosphere, it decays over time, and we have to replace them. And we can do the 2 things in conjunction because we would affect the fender with the scour protection anyway. So we're going to get into that area to set the boulders, and we're going to have to rebuild the fender system, which has really reached the end of its effective life.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Vargas.
Hi, this is Mr. Gorton. Thank you so much. You're always very complete when you sit with me to explain the needs for the facilities and the benefits to Martin County residents. Would scour protection and fender repair also be addressed in the Jensen Beach area, my district, District 1? Do you foresee that?
So we don't have any scour critical bridges in Jensen Beach. We just don't have any designed that have the pilings kind of right in the middle of the channel the way those 2 bridges are. So there aren't any county maintained bridges in Jensen Beach that are scour critical.
Right.
So,
I think that was transferred to the Department of Transportation. Is that correct?
yeah, so the causeways would be bridges that could be scour critical, and we don't maintain those. Those are maintained by the state.
Is that the same with the Stuart Bridge from Sewell's Point, too?
I don't think either one of those is classified as scour critical, but I could tell you we don't maintain them and don't have a responsibility for it.
All right, very good.
I think most bridges these days are designed differently so that you don't have the condition that we have on those 2 bridges.
Okay, thank you.
Just as a point of note, during the 2004 hurricane, the Jensen Beach Causeway, which was under construction, I think had about either 30 to 50 feet of scour on the old bridge, which was pretty significant and validated some of their models in terms of what hurricanes can do moving water around. And I know the Stuart Causeway was designed with ship impact piling, so that if the causeway washed away, it could still be functional as a bridge. But anyway, those are both, as Mr. Gordon stated, state responsibilities.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Would anyone from the public like to address us? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We will now take up Department 2, contracts that meet the threshold for board approval of $1 million or greater. Good morning. Commissioner Heatherington, would you?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to separate items number 1 and number 3. As item number 1, I've been an employee of Herrera Companies for 12 years as one of the companies that bid on Southeast County Line Road Bridge replacement. I will be abstaining from the vote. I have turned in my Form 8B to the clerk, and I would respectfully ask for you to consider that separately, and I will abstain. And on item number 3, there was a public commenter this morning, Holly Rasheen, that had a number of questions, and I would like some more information and answers to those questions. Debris management is a very important function, as we've experienced after the storms, and that is a scored and subjective award, and I would like to have more information. As it was pointed out, it was 1.1 points. So if we could separate those, please.
Please proceed.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with item A1, which is Heatherington, you need to abstain from voting. Thank you.
Can you pull in on the mic a little bit?
And state your name for the record, please.
Yes, Seth McConaughey, your Assistant Procurement Supervisor for the record.
Thank you.
So item A1 is for Southeast County Line Road Bridge replacement. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Conan Graham Incorporated, in the amount of $7,462,501.50, and move that the board approve the amended CIP sheet for this project. And lastly, authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request.
I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Capps.
Again, this one is in my district, and the bridge replacement on County Line Road was one of my commission priorities. I made priorities that had to do with Hope Sound, and then I made some that had to do with Indiantown, and then I thought, what could be one of my 5 or 6 commission priorities for South County, or Northern Tequesta? Some might call them the Forgotten Tribe. A lot of people don't even really think of them as being in the county, but they are. So, and we need to pay attention to their needs as well. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to just talk a little bit about the project rather quickly. And I had a few questions. What is the length of construction, and when would it start?
Once again, Jim Gordon, Public Works Director. The project is predicated on some utilities moving their facilities out of our way. That's happening right now. FPL, we had the road closed last week where FPL moved their lines. They were directly over the bridge. And then the next thing is a raw water main has to be moved from the village of Tequesta. So they've got a water main that's connected to the existing bridge, and they've got to do a directional drill under the northwest fork of the Loxahatchee River to run that water main through there. So those two things have to happen before we can start our project. But once it starts, it's going to have 12 to 15 months for construction. We're going to have that section of road closed. There's a detour that'll run through town. And we have worked with the Boy Scout camp to create a temporary fire station on the west side of that bridge so that we can serve the community that's on the west side of the bridge, not reduce, we're actually going to increase response times because they're closer to those communities. And then we're going to have the normal fire station, which is about a mile south of there, to service the rest of Tequesta. So 12 to 15 months is the total time frame for it.
Great. One more, the detour route that you talked about through town, do we know exactly how that will be done?
Yeah.
Just for informational purposes.
Yeah, so it runs down to Tequesta Drive and then comes back up Country Club. So,
Okay.
So you'll go into Palm Beach County and then do a loop through Palm Beach County and then back up Country Club.
Great, thank you.
Please continue.
Thank you very much.
Vote for that one separately.
You want to do that? Yeah,
I
okay.
made a motion because Commissioner
I'm abstaining.
Hetherington can't.
Okay, so we'll vote on number one. Is there a motion?
I made a motion.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes with, that's the one that you're abstaining on?
Yes.
4-1 with Commissioner Hetherington abstaining.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to continue with item A2.
0.
Which is the professional services for the operation and management of the St. Lucie Inlet 2027 rebid. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to Gahagan and Bryan Incorporated as the sole responsive and responsible proposer in the amount of $4,362,094.18, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And disaster-related debris removal.
Would you like me to present first? Great. So item A3 is the disaster-related debris removal. This is a continuing services contract with a maximum not to exceed value of $3 million and a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the two highest-ranked firms, Ceres Environmental Services Incorporated and DRC Emergency Services LLC. And lastly, the staff is recommending the county administrator be designated to execute all documents related to this request. And prior to addressing any questions, I would like to make a statement based on the comments this morning from a procurement perspective. I would like to note that the record that concerns for A3 were raised. This is the first time county staff have been made aware of any of the 11 proposers expressing concerns related to the procurement process, evaluation, scoring, or recommendation. While we appreciate and very much respect the comments provided, the Martin County Purchasing Manual established specific procedures, requirements, and deadlines for requesting clarification, challenging a solicitation, or filing a protest. County staff did not receive any formal request, challenge, or protest in accordance with those procedures during the procurement process. Additionally, the recommendation before you today is based upon the evaluation process established in the solicitation and the scoring and recommendations provided by the selection committee in accordance with the applicable procurement requirements. However, at the board direction, we will readjust as need be.
Commissioner Hetherington.
Yes. There were a number of questions raised this morning, and it had to do with, and I didn't get a chance to write them all down, the score evaluation, the documentation. And I will say, too, that and even the public speaker is also a county commissioner in the South, so I believe there would be a cone of silence for this matter. So if someone did want to reach out to us as individual commissioners, I believe they would have been restricted to do that
And
by a
to
cone
forward
of
all
silence.
communication to the purchasing division,
Yes,
yes.
so I think this is an appropriate place for them to raise their questions. And I didn't write down all the questions, but what I do see is that there are 11 firms, and we're awarding to 2. Have we always only awarded to 2?
It was, yes, in a staff department recommendation of 2, and it was advertised in the solicitation that the county reserves the right to make a recommendation to 1 or more, and it was 2.
And then can you speak to, did you document some of Ms. Rasheen's questions this morning?
Briefly, so the first one was improper comments based on a selection committee. While I understand that perspective, Ashbrit in their submittal specifically calls out their experience with Martin County in Hurricanes Matthew, Irma, and Milton, which opens experience and with that vendor. So staff is allowed during the committee, if the proposal specifically mentions Martin County as past experience, the committee is allowed to comment on that experience.
Do we have their scoring? So we can request the presentations
Yes.
of the bidders, and we can request the final scoring, because the scoring matrix I see in here is just a general scoring matrix,
We do
and it
have,
just has the totals.
So I would suggest that if there is an analysis that you would want to be done, is that if you add interviews, which were not done in this, then there would be a rescoring, if you will, by staff based upon adding interviews in.
So there were no interviews?
There were no interviews.
Done, they were.
They were just scoring based upon the written presentation.
Oh, so if we had 11 bidders, would it not be prudent to narrow that down to the
Typically, you would do it to
top
3 or.
X and
Yes.
then have those top X be interviewed and/or have presentations?
Yes. Yes, typically we do 3 to 5, I believe, is a typical interview process when we shortlist.
And 11 firms is great. You'd love to see that competition. I would have preferred to see it whittled down to the top, even if you did the top 4 or 5, and then scored accordingly and have them do the presentations. And I think that would probably have been a better process.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yeah, are there, and believe me, competition is great, and I've always proposed that, so I'm glad I heard Commissioner Hetherington say that today. But are there any adjustments that could be made to, to give the appearance of more fairness, maybe an interview might be added to besides just the scoring?
So the RFP specifically states that the county may request a presentation. It is not typical for the county to have that second step with an RFP. It's generally followed with an RFQ process, which is usually governed by CCNA and specialities. However, this one was not. But again, it does. The solicitation does clearly state that we may enter into presentations. However, usually presentations are geared through a shortlist process where we would take the top 3 highest ranking firms and bring them back for presentations. For this one, that's not really a standard, so we would need to know which ones to bring back, if not all of them, to present. And the criteria will remain exactly the same, and the committee will rescore based on the presentations and the written submittal. So the written submittals are still, they're not kicked out. If we do presentations, it would be in addition to the proposal.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we do have an interview process. Again, it can be the top, I'm looking at the top chart right here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is that correct?
So the chart you're looking at, the exhibit is not in order based on scoring.
Okay.
However, it was discussed that we would maybe bring back those scoring 80 or above or 90 or above.
Okay, I see several that are 90 and above, unless you felt there was some compelling reason to bring those that were 80 and above.
Absolutely
In your
not.
experience.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That we would need to bring them back.
You don't need to bring them back. Okay, so how about just the top, 90 and above?
That
And
works for
then
me.
make that standard. I think that a bidder knows what they're able to offer much better than their competitor, and to be able to give them the opportunity, I'll just say, sell.
No, absolutely. And that perspective, I mean, it is offered to the committee during this, and they're fully aware of that option. Just depending on the comments and the scoring, while unfortunate and only off by 1, there were still 2 clear higher scoring ranked, and that was as advertised. But again, the committee will need to reconvene and rescore based on the presentations.
Okay, I think this is important.
Absolutely.
And I think that we should definitely not be casual about this. So I would like to make a motion that we include an interview process with the top scoring of 90 and above.
Commissioner Capps.
I'd like to hear from Commissioner Hetherington next, because I think she deals in this world a lot more than most of us do with her other work that she does. And maybe I'll comment after her.
Commissioner Hetherington.
I don't think it's necessary to rescore, but to shortlist the top 5 and then interview those top 5. And then you bring back a recommendation based on that.
It's established by a scoring criteria. I'm not, how would we, I wouldn't know how we would award.
So you would take I'm sorry, you would take the original solicitations?
Yes.
I'm sorry, not
criteria.
not resolicit.
The criteria will be
Yes.
regurgitated for
Not
the presentation.
resolicit.
No.
Take the original proposals.
Correct.
You would score and take the top 5, interview those top 5, and then recommend from there.
And rescore. They
Yes.
would be rescored in their
Correct.
entirety, yes.
Do not resolicit.
Nope.
Take the original submitted proposals, and then you would take the top 5.
Yep.
Rescore, interview, and then present.
Yes.
Is that a substitute motion? Or?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second that, but I would like to ask one question. The deviation from the norm, I'll call it, is that just applicable to this particular case? We're not like changing our
Absolutely not. This is
system
very
for
typical.
future projects and that kind of thing?
Correct. This is very typical for an RFP process, a one-step.
And what we're proposing here only applies to this particular?
This particular one. This is the deviation.
I'll second Commissioner Hetherington's motion.
So this isn't a change in policy?
No.
It isn't an appropriation of your responsibility and taking it on ourselves?
No, I don't believe it is, Commissioner, because it's simply, the option for the interview was in there. It just wasn't exercised. In many cases, like in the previous presentation on, you'll have consultant contracts, the interview process is sometimes used and not at the discretion of staff. I think the board requesting this discretion be used in this case is reasonable and appropriate, does not change the practice. It still will come back with a staff ranking.
And since this hasn't been awarded, does the zone of silence still apply?
Yes.
They will, yes.
I would just like to say, Mr. McConaughey, I thought you did an excellent job filling in. It's a tough day for Ms. Brotherton not to be here, but you did an excellent
Thank you, sir.
job, not only explaining it to us, but navigating through the process. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Are we on good footing
Yes, we are. We're filing the RFP.
with the zone of silence also?
Well, the cone of silence, we're in a public meeting, so we're fine, but the applicants cannot speak to you outside of this
Good.
venue.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Let's see. Want to have a public records update?
Sure.
Sure.
And then we'll take a lunch break, maybe.
We did approve number 2, right?
We did,
I'm at number 2.
yeah, we did number
Yeah, we
2
did.
separately.
Okay.
We did 1 and 2, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Kim Levy. I am your Chief of Staff, and I have with me
Sangeeta Miraj, the Records Administrator.
I'll look towards you.
Tap them and see if they work. Okay.
All right, I think we're good to go now. Again, I'm Kim Levy. I'm your Chief of Staff, and this is...
Sangeeta Miraj, the Records Administrator.
We're here to give you a public records update of the Public Records Program. In 2016, the Board of County Commissioners established a program to help us with the comprehensive centralization of public records and the function in Martin County. It's a very complex a very complex public record protocol and procedures and necessary for the county's defense of in an event of a public records litigation. Public records is considered all documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, photographs, films, sound recordings, data processing, and all other materials regardless of their physical form, characteristic, and meaning of transmission. With me, I have our Public Records Management Liaison Officer, Sangeeta. Sangeeta will start to tell you about her role and her role in the division.
So we just heard about the purpose, but what does the Public Records team do? The obvious answer is we respond to public records requests. But there's so much more to the program that is not generally known, and I wanted to highlight some of those procedures and processes that we were able to implement based on specific statutes and case laws. to ensure that the county is in compliance with the public records law. Since the inception of the program, as listed, we have centralized the request process, implemented several public records training programs, established procedures related to security records, providing exempt information to contractors, and created the exempt persons list database. That list basically protects the address and names of people who have worked in government and are qualified for an exemption for their personal information. That includes most recently, county commissioners. Additionally, we've also updated the county's records management and public records and social media policies and procedures, centralized the capture of all social media pages being utilized by the county, drafted and implemented a notice to preserve policy and procedure to ensure proper preservation of records for litigation, and implemented a procedure related to the release of copyrighted records. Most people do not realize that if we get copyrighted records, even at the county, we cannot copy them and release them without the permission of the author. There are also plans to incorporate, but they are still public record. So we had to come up with a solution for how do we provide these records to the public if we're not allowed to copy them. There are plans to incorporate a public records presentation into the CARES program to promote public understanding. As we were identifying and implementing the specific programs that needed to be put in place at the BOCC, the public records program began evolving. Initially, other departments were involved to carry out some functions. As time passed, employees left, retired, etc., and those duties and responsibilities were absorbed completely by the Public Records Division. Those additional duties include, but are not limited to, email searches, social media searches, advising on proper retention and disposition periods for public records, including contractors, working on the disposition of emails from the email system. These responsibilities are challenging and are taking significant time and effort to be accomplished. The public records law has become popular, and as a result, there's a steady increase in requests received by the county. In turn, this has also led to an increase in email searches. So as shown on the graphs, the county has received 82 more requests and 114 more email search requests from January to May 2026 as compared to the same time period in 2025. I ran the updated numbers, and the county has now received 132 more requests from January to June of this year compared to last year, and 180 more email searches done from January to June of this year compared to last year. We're on track to surpass last year's total of 1,440 requests. Along with the increase in requests, the nature of the requests have changed, and they're more complicated and voluminous. There has been an uptake in requests from law firms, not only because they're trying to get information via public records requests that they normally would not get in discovery, but also because Florida has enacted litigation reforms and initial disclosures must be proactively disclosed within 60 days of service of a complaint. Due to this change, law firms are now submitting large public records requests prior to filing a complaint in court. With the growing popularity of the public records law, the public is using the request process as a research tool. Requests have evolved to seeking any and all records for entire projects spanning several years, with broad email searches as opposed to seeking an agenda item or a resolution a few years ago. There are over 1,000 exemptions to the public records law, and all records must be reviewed prior to release for anything that is, exempt or confidential. For some context, the county received a request from a law firm where the search produced over 34,000 responsive records and 5,746 emails to be reviewed for exempt and confidential information. The production of the records for this request, including gathering and review time, is estimated at 230 hours. This must be completed along with 100 other open requests where responsive records for those requests are 500 pages with 1,017 emails, or 4,800 pages with 1,900 emails. Other requests are not voluminous, but they're heavy on redaction. A responsive document to a request seeking servers, internet search history, etc., took a significant amount of time for review and redaction. Although the document produced was a single Excel spreadsheet, a majority of the information was covered under a cybersecurity exemption, and thousands of cells had to be reviewed and redacted because release of that information will pose a risk to our cyber systems. Reviewing and redacted exempt or confidential information is required by law, and there can be serious criminal or civil consequences if there's a violation, not only for the county, but for the person assigned to the task. As a result of creating new and updating existing policies and procedures, keeping up with exemptions and case law, and being diligent with our responses, the BOCC has not been involved in a public records lawsuit since the creation of the program, and public records cases, if filed, are now more defensible by the legal department.
And we can thank Sangeeta for that because she's a huge part of the program.
We're at the forefront of identifying the need and putting procedures in place to protect the county. An example of this is a public records lawsuit filed in 2019, and it's Azure Development versus the City of Boca Raton, where the City of Boca Raton was found in violation of public records law because they did not have a procedure in place and did not reach out to their commissioners for personal communication that was possibly in their possession and not responding within a reasonable time. The BOCC has had a procedure in place addressing and obtaining records from commissioners' personal devices for a few years, and I know you guys find those forms annoying, but it is a requirement that we set.
I think it's fantastic.
There's also another case, SDE Media LLC versus the City of Doral in 2017. They violated the public records law. They were found in violation because they misrepresented that all records had been produced in response to a request, when in fact they did not do a good faith search to produce when they knew there were possibly other records that were responsive. So they were found in violation there. The county has procedures in place to prevent such things. So, you know, if there was a lawsuit filed, we could say we did make a good faith effort to locate all those records and produce them. The BOCC is also used as a benchmark for other municipalities and counties, as our training materials, policies, and procedures have been requested across the state from Miami-Dade Police Department, Indian River County, St. Lucie County, City of Port St. Lucie, City of Stuart, Village of Indiantown, and counties from the west side of Florida. The Public Records Division has given general public records presentation and fielded general questions from other public offices. I actually, one of the counties actually requested my training, and she said that she didn't change a thing. She just went in and searched for Martin County and replaced it with her county's name. And
That's a
used
compliment.
training.
A huge compliment.
The Public Records Program is an integral component of the Board of County Commissioners' operations. The program has implemented various public records initiative and training programs, has experienced increased growth, and is used as a benchmark and a source of information for other agencies. In summary, we have made solid progress and continue to remain focused on executing our priorities to promote transparency and openness at Martin County. Thank you for your attention and continued confidence, and that concludes the update.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you for your presentation. A couple of quick questions. One, the advent of AI. Have there been AI used in an effort to create records requests? And then to the reverse of that, do you have the ability to use AI to help you go through 36,000 pages of information? Is some of that new technology available to help with on both sides? One, I get that people are using AI to make requests. You've brought one of them to our attention that I see as more of a national initiative to try to make big requests, very broad requests. But then on the positive side, can AI be a tool that could help you?
So it could possibly help with the problem we have right now. The exemptions are not, with AI, it may help, but what is available right now does not cover what we need. There are programs that can search for a social security number, a date of birth, and they can automatically redact that information if it's within the record. However, the county covers, we have 14 departments, and there are numerous exemptions, so it's not just looking for a social security number or a date of birth, but it'd be hard for a a program to go through, it's not available right now, that will identify security life systems that we have to redact if it's pertaining to a building. HIPAA information, because we are a HIPAA-covered agency and we're not allowed to release any kind of medical records. So it would be difficult for a program right now to go through and find that information. Hopefully, it will,
Okay, so hopefully you can come back to us when you hear about some within the industry. My final point is that I think each of us had an opportunity to meet with the sheriff, and I know that he and his department have been going through a tremendous amount of public records requests because everyone's asking for body camera. And that body camera footage has now become, not only is it used by lawyers and the like, but or news media, but it's also being used by social media influencers that then take that information and create platforms that they can then monetize. So I know that he'll be coming forward with the same set of circumstances and consequences that you've been going through. I remember when they put you in charge of this, you're the OG of public records, and and I think you've done a remarkable job. I remember it used to just be handled by the aides. And then we said, well, we're going to bring Sangeeta in. It'll be easy. She'll do it part-time, and she'll do it by herself. How many people in your department now?
3 full-time, and we have assistance from 2 contract.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't imagine when you say one request is 36,000 pages, and you can't look and say, well, I can look at 10,000 of the pages. You really have 3 people. So well done, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yes, on page 441, it says all requests must be responded to within a reasonable time. What is that reasonable time, Ms. Sangeeta?
Reasonable time means it depends.
Okay, that was...
It depends on what is requested, it depends on the availability of the record, and it depends on how many pages there are to review for exempt and confidential information. If it's something that is readily available, that has no exempt or confidential information, then that information, those records are to be turned over to us immediately to be released. If it contains 500 pages, and the department turns it over to us, a reasonable time would be the time it would take for us to review those 500 pages and release it. And it depends, only a court can actually determine, what a reasonable time would be if we did step outside of that. But the only delay to a request would be to review those records for exempt or confidential information.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, reasonable time is as soon as possible.
As soon as you get to it, right?
Commissioner Capps.
Yeah, in the agenda item summary on page 433 down at the bottom, it says, every agency is required by law to appoint an records management liaison officer to serve as a point of contact between the agency and the Division of Library and Information Services Records Management Program. So I just wanted to point out that this is an example of a unfunded mandate by the state of Florida, right? Like every county government has to have this kind of a department.
Correct.
Just by
All agencies.
fiat declaration, the legislature has required this. Do you have a budget number for your department that comes to mind? Like, is that something in the budget? Like, do we know how much this department costs us?
Off the top of my head, no, I can't tell you exactly what the entire department costs. They are a part of administration.
Part of administration,
Yeah,
okay.
so their budget falls within all of administration's budget.
Well, I'm sure it's significant. And it's an example of an unfunded mandate and how the cost of government rises with new rules and regulations. We've heard about requests for public records being on the rise, the frequency of them, and they're more complicated and voluminous. And this is just another example of how, with the passage of time and with the implementation of new rules and expectations, there are rising costs. And I just wanted to bring that up.
And so this is a requirement that we provide public records, and we do it, and we get, your volume is going up and up and up. What percentage of public records we can charge? What percentage of the customers do you charge?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I do have the number that from January to June of this year. I did the numbers, and we did get payment from 100 people from January to June of this year. So I would say
It's roughly about 14%.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's for over I don't have that number.
Okay.
Of the percentage that I do charge, but the Government in the Sunshine Manual has stated that the agencies cannot use public records as a money-making venture. And so we are only allowed to charge for extensive use of our services and clerical assistance. So we're not allowed to charge for all records. And I think a substantial amount of records we don't charge for because it doesn't fall under that definition.
Thanks. Commissioner Heatherington.
What's the process and how do you verify that it is an actual, if someone is going to be paying for the records, how do you identify that it is actual? It can be a resident of anywhere, I suppose, in the U.S. or the globe, but how do you identify it's not spam, it's not some kind of Autobot, requesting the record, it's an actual human being? Do we take identification? How does that verified, or does it have to be by law?
So you're a robot. we cannot, if somebody can make a request and they can make that request totally anonymous, and we are not allowed under law to demand the name of the person, who they are, why they're making the request. So if a request comes through from an anonymous email, we simply have to just confirm receipt and work on that request. We cannot, by law, state, ask them who they are and why they want the records.
And how would that person or persons provide payment for those records?
If they want to make an anonymous request and there is an invoice, if there isn't an invoice, we can just attach the record to that email and send it to them. If there is an invoice, we send it to that email, and they have options to pay. They can buy money order, they can mail in cash, they can come and leave the payment at the front desk. There's several ways they can do that.
We do not have an automated system at this time.
Commissioner Vargas.
Is there a minimum age for request for public records? No.
No.
Okay. So it could be anonymous, and you could be a 1-year-old.
And they can't ask them who they are or why they want the record. The law says every person, so it's also defined as a corporation, another county. It's, any person is allowed to make a request.
Commissioner Campy.
Is there any system or fail-safes in place for people that take advantage of the system and just constantly make requests just to burden either you all or the government, as a fishing opportunity to sue?
No. I was just reading that this morning, actually. I was looking over the rules, and basically what the courts have determined is that although an agency might find some requesters annoying because they're consistently making requests, we cannot prevent them from making a request as much as we would like to.
You should write a manual or something on it and then spread it around the state.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should we take up one more item and then take a break?
Yes.
Let's take up Department 4, which is legislative mandates affecting building department operations effective July 1, 2026, requiring board action. More unfunded mandates?
Unfortunately, it's headed that direction. Good morning, Jeff Doherty, Director of the Building Department. For the record, today with me I have Josh Ney, the Assistant Building Official. Little update, we have a House Bill 803 that changed the way we need to operate and fund ourselves, and that's all in relation to the Florida Building Code. The Building Code was originally brought into effect in 2002. It was mandated by the state by Chapter 553 of the Florida Statutes. We operate to ensure the safety and well-being of the community. We are allowed to charge fees for that. We are not allowed to make a profit. We can't have reserves. Reserves are limited into what they can do and what they can't do. House Bill 803 has changed that, and it's changed the way we collect the fees. Historically, everyone pretty much charged fees based on a valuation and a percentage of that. We are no longer allowed to do that for building inspections. It must be actual costs, so we have to make a determination what the anticipated actual cost is, and we would charge that way. If I move the agenda, Donna, if you would, to a couple pages, you'll see that I've, just for an example of the way the world changed, this is a fee calculation from 2001. And you can see there a low-cost entry-level home was under $34 a foot. Today, the International Code Council establishes the minimum cost for a house is $189 a square foot. So it's gone up almost 6 times. Even the excellent category of 85 isn't even half what the low cost is today. The luxury is probably up near $1,000 a square foot. So the cost has drastically increased, and you can see at the time we used a valuation of 0.7%. The reason for that is obviously cost of inflation, but there's also the mandate that required the houses to be built much better, more energy efficiently constructed at the federal level, and also the windows, the impact, and all those types of things. So what I'd like to do, if I could very quickly go to the slideshow, Donna, and give you a little overview of building codes. This is a legislative mandate that the state's giving us, and it's all building departments, not Martin County. If we move on to the next. I'm sorry?
Are you in that picture?
I am not the governor. These mandates, as we move on to the next slide, you can see what we do, as I mentioned earlier, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens, and that's one of the projects that it's underway down at South County line. Moving into the next slide, what was the first building code? It was actually the Code of Hammurabi back almost 4,000 years ago. It was etched in stone. It is still on display at the Louvre in Paris. It is the eye for an eye. If you had a builder and the house fell and killed his wife, your wife was killed. So it was an eye for an eye. Very, very strict rules. If you go to the next one, what was the first one that related to it in the United States in 1965 in New Amsterdam was more of a fire code. They had a lot of troubles with fireplaces burning, people didn't clean them. And this is New Amsterdam, which today is New York City. Moving forward to the real building code, a full comprehensive building code, was 1891 in Baltimore. They were the first city to adopt it. On your right, you'll see the House of Refuge. So that was actually constructed before any building code existed in the United States. So we'll kind of give perspective to the age of that. That's the oldest building in the state and the county, but it certainly predates building codes. As we move forward up till 1987, anybody, any jurisdiction could do anything they wanted and have a building code, not have a building code. They didn't have any requirements up until the legislature in 1974 said, you must have a building code. It must be one of these 4, and you can change it whatever way you want, but you got to have one. So they moved forward, and then we had Hurricane Andrew in if we move forward there, Donna, right before Hurricane Andrew in 92, the governor decided that we need to establish a task force for something to do, because all this building codes with all these different jurisdictions, with all these different revisions, we need to make it uniform. Oddly enough, at the same time in 1994, 3 of those building codes merged and formed the International Code Council. So they no longer existed. And the International Code Council tried to take these, and one was really for the East, and one was for the North, and one was for the West, so it made sense to move them all together. So as we move forward, that report was presented to the legislature in 1998, and it was we need a unified building code. One of the driving forces, too, was insurance, because to get stable insurance, you have to have stable ability of what we're building and doing. So in the 2000 legislature, they actually implemented the adoption of the building code, and that would go into effect then in 2002. So perspective, this is the 1965 entire building code for the Southern Building Code. 1965, this was it. This was the entire code. So we moved forward and they adopted the South Florida Building Code. This is 1972, the entire building code. And back then you registered them, and apparently we didn't turn our registration form in, and so we haven't gotten an updated copy, but it's there if we need it. Perspective, today, we have a statewide building code. It is modeled after the International Code Council and modified to Florida by the Florida Building Commission. So I have for you just the residential code for that. There's 10 books. Josh is holding it. That is only the residential code. There are 10 more books. And in each one of these books, it references others, such as the American Concrete Institute or the American National Standards or the American Society of Heating and Refrigeration. It's estimated there's 300,000 to 400,000 pages of code today. So we went from this to that on steroids. So that's what we currently do. When the building code came out, it mandated that everyone's building code was eradicated. Any local amendments were removed. You had to use the state building code. If you wanted to modify the building code, only the Florida Building Commission could change it by their permission. You could have a local request, public hearings, send it to the Building Commission. They had 30 days to either say yes or no. If they did approve it, it was only good for one code cycle. Every code cycle was 3 years. So if you sent one in the middle of the code cycle, a year and a half later, it was eradicated. The theory is that if you have something so unique that is so special, it would get adopted into the next version of the code. And if it wasn't that special, it really didn't need to be there, and you're not going to get it again. So that's the way the state worked on it. The Building Commission is all appointed by the governor, and they meet once a year. If we go on to the next slide, it shows you some of the many books there. The building code restricts how building departments operate. You cannot use any of the funds you generate on anything but enforcement of the building code. You are restricted on what your reserves are. You can have some operating reserve. You used to be able to have some capital reserves. That's been taken away by Bill 803. So if we move on, what's the legislative shift? What do we do? What's in this bill? And the next one, you'll see there's 12 important things. One of the things, single-family home permits, we used to be good for 6 months. They're now good for 1 to 3 years, whichever is longer. 1 year or the length of a new code cycle. Our new code cycle comes into play January 1, 2027. That would be the 9th edition. So if you get a permit January 2nd, it's good for 3 years. It's definitely changed from what it was. One of the items in the bill was an exemption for any work under $7,500 on a single-family home. Everyone's heard about that on the news and the paper. What they didn't hear is the other half that says, except plumbing, mechanical, electrical, structural, and flood zone. So it eliminates almost everything other than maybe a fence or a screen door on your front porch. It also requires that if you get an exemption, you must file an application to the building department. It must include your contract to prove that the scope of the work is not within those exemptions and under 75, and then the building department's obligated to issue an exemption. Effectively, it's the same amount of work as getting a fence permit as is getting an exemption permit. But nonetheless, our concern is you're going to have people that heard the first part. You're going to have an unqualified, unlicensed person that goes up and says, I'll change your hot water heater. You don't need a permit. You do need a permit. You go in, they change it, they say, well, I'd like a bigger one, it's 40 gallons, I'll make it 50 gallons. Okay, well, I need a bigger breaker to charge this. Instead of 30 amps, it's 40 amps, but I didn't change the wire, now I got a fire. So you're going to have all those types of things that we're really going to have to spend a lot of time diligent enforcing it, because the exemption is very, very little when you take out the requirements for it to fit into it. The other main thing, and one of the items you're here today for, is you can no longer have a capital reserve. You cannot use any building department money for any capital to build buildings. That's now being shifted back over to the county, ad valorem, or whoever they decide to fund it moving forward. A couple other things, that expands replacement of mobile homes. It forbids the building department from withholding a permit for a mobile home. So there's some definitions of where that is. That's got to really kind of sort through it, exactly what that means. If we go to the next slide, it limits our fee structure. We can no longer charge based on a percentage. We have to based on the actual cost as associated with inspections. It limits us on some time. So, for example, if you have an accessory building, you must issue the permit within 5 days or it's deemed issued. So it's put a lot of demand on us for turnaround. It's very much geared towards private providers taking over the industry to some degree. There's some expansion on what a cheeky hut is versus a tiki hut and where you can place them. So there'll be some people trying to utilize that. It does make a statewide building permit application. We will no longer have our own. The state will now make all building permit applications. The Building Commission has been tasked with that. They will have that out, I think, July 1st or January 1st of 27, and every jurisdiction must use that application form. We have no choice. Main things, we can, if we want, require everyone to now use electronic submission. We generally have 85% of ours are electronic. We do have a lot of people that walk in with paper. We do not intend to eliminate that because there are customers that may not be savvy enough to use it, but we're there to help. Private providers, at any time during the construction process, a person can say, I don't want to use the building department, I want to use a private provider. We've never had that happen. Recently, we've had 3 private provider users come and ask if we would take over the private provider. So I'm not really sure what's going on in that world, but it's in there. We have to have a registration system for private providers so they don't have to constantly do it, so we're making it easier on them. And one of the things that changed too is we can no longer review any of the documents that they submit. So we cannot re-review them if they come in. We cannot re-inspect them if they do the inspections. However, it does say if we see a glowing error, we can attempt to fix it. But if we're not allowed to look at them, I don't know how we would see a glowing error. So that's kind of the issues that mainly are affecting us. If we go back earlier, Donna, then to the resolution, I think in there, we're asking today for a resolution that establishes the new fee schedule, which is based on the requirements of House Bill 803. The other item is we are transferring the remaining funds out of our capital reserve into the construction operating for the completion of the Larry Massing project. Those items are the items that General Services typically procures directly through contracts that are either national purchasing co-ops or direct contracts. Example is the air conditioning equipment we buy through a co-op. We don't pay sales tax and we don't pay the GC overhead profit on it. The other ones are the sprinkler, the security, fire sprinkler, the security, and the IT. Our IT department likes to use the contractor they have negotiated with, and security obviously want to keep that tight in the security realm, so they use our security contractor through the general services contracts. So we're asking for those things today, for a resolution to adopt a new fee schedule and to transfer the money out of the reserve, because as of July 1, you will not be able to do that. And moving forward, you will not be able to have a capital reserve. It also allows us to have the application for the waiver, which is required for the $7,500 exemption. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Capps.
Yes, you may have touched on this, but I don't think you did. In prior discussions that I've had with you, one thing I'd like to bring to the attention of the public is, in years past, you've been able to call the building department to get records that are very old, 20 years, 30 years, and you might need these records for insurance purposes to prove something about your house. But that's all going away, right? You're only going to be keeping 10 years of records?
We worked with the public records and I'm not sure, it's Department of State. Do you remember what division that was that came out with retention requirements and were required to keep them 10 and dispose of them after final disposition of a action? So if you came in for a building permit, the final action would be the CO. That may take 6 months or a year or two. At that final action, we would keep them for additional 10 years. We have worked to upload all of our records into the Acela software cloud, so they stay there. All of them were paper. We eventually converted them to PDF, and then from PDF, we converted them into a actual account number and uploaded them into Acela. But they're disposed of in accordance with the state retention rules.
I mean, I see that as a huge problem for the public in the future, because so many people don't keep good records, but suddenly they need to get their hands on them for proof to insurance companies. And there's not going to be any remedy there, right?
Going forward, I'm not exactly sure, and I've asked this question. What will the records do? We started using the Acela software around 2017, so we haven't hit the 10-year mark. All those documents we have in now, I don't know we go in and dispose of them because they're in the cloud. So those records may stay. We'd have to work with how IT would do that or how the cloud storage would do that at that time. We haven't gotten there yet. So they may be retained, but we don't retain them in our records. They would be retained in the cloud records of Acela.
Right, and then I had one more question about mobile homes. And it sounds like this is a new rule, and you haven't fully fleshed it out at this point. But the general idea is that mobile homes can like go anywhere except maybe in a homeowners association. If, if you just live on a regular street and there's an empty lot, somebody's going to be able to put a mobile home there by state law, right?
Well, there's two issues. One would be as it addressed to zoning, which I would defer to the county attorney's office. In terms of the permitting, it specifically tells us we cannot deny a permit based on the placement of a mobile home on any single family lot. So we are forbidden from telling them they can't do it from a building permit. Now, the other issues I haven't investigated from that growth management side.
I got you. Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, and I'll make a motion to approve the items that you have requested.
Second.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you so much. Mr. Doherty, you always do this very, very well and explain to us what we need to know for this. There's some unknowns, and I think Commissioner Capps addressed those, and we'll have to tackle them as they come forward. So I definitely am going to go along with moving that we adopt the resolution for the fee schedule, which was remarkable, as a matter of fact, and also the budget transfer, which is required as of July 1st, whatever else comes down. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You also.
Any further questions? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break for lunch. We will return at 2 o'clock for our preset.